But yeah,
No, I just love a summary of what
I
we
think
discussed.
I think out of all the out of the entire Q&A, I don't think we have a single one where it's just no. I think everyone has like an in-depth response to them.
Actually, you're right. Yeah. Each one literally has about a paragraph to 2-paragraph response. Wow.
So it'll be good time.
So it's no fuck off.
Is
Well,
anyone
for you
recording
it
this?
might be, but
Yeah.
I'll be
Obviously.
I'll be recording this and I'll upload it after the meeting.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Because I kind of made a double booking, so I'm going to
double
be
booking?
here, but I'm also going to be busy. So I'm going to be here, but I'm also going to be busy.
How dare you double book?
The Q&As I also post in text. It probably have to segregate it like into multiple because it's like a 3,500 word page, or it's like 3,500 words Q&A.
Yeah. Closer to 4,000, but yeah, it's quite a lot.
Yeah. My entire document is like 5,000 words of just stuff to talk about. So it'll be exciting.
I'm excited.
Oh, we are. We're gonna try and do these like every half a year if we can. Not more, because not a lot of stuff changes within a half a year to where it's necessary, but every half a year might be a good time to have at least a rundown of what goes on, so you guys aren't left in the dark. Because we don't want that. I don't want that. That is.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, we really do.
It's gonna be a fun time. My dessert will have to wait though.
Picking up your keycaps there, mate.
Someone's typing viciously.
My microphone is a little too sensitive. I don't want to sit here and on dessert while I'm doing this meeting. It's rude. All right. Start this recording here. All right. So now we're recording. Okay. So I think everyone here, I'm just gonna do a last minute ping here. In case someone missed it. Re-ping. And we'll give it a minute and we'll start. See? Here we go. All right. I don't think we have any more coming. I think that just about does. I think we have some people being a little bit late. But I guess we'll just I'm going to need a drink for this.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Smart decision.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Okay, so the way we'll do this is I'm just gonna go because we have a lot of stuff here to cover, and just so it doesn't take 2 hours. I'm gonna go through all the stuff that I have first. I'm gonna go by it per section, so we'll start off with server licensing, go through each topic. If you have any questions, we'll take them after I've done each section. So for server licensing, once I'm done talking about server licensing from my side, we'll do any questions, talk about whatever you guys have to talk about, and then we'll move on to the next one. That sounds good for everyone?
Yes.
Fine for me.
Copy that.
Let's try not to talk over each other. Just otherwise we'll never get done. So let's just be mindful with each other here. All right. So the first topic is going to be server licensing, obviously, and where we're at with it, what it is, and kind of how will it work. And so some of you know what server licensing is already, and some of you don't. And it kind of comes down to how much you know about Squad, how long you've been here, etc., etc. I'm just gonna go give everyone a rundown on what server licensing in its form is, not what it is for PostScriptum, just what it does. And then we'll talk about postscriptum right after. So, a server license is essentially it's a license that you apply to community servers, which will restrict certain admin commands. For example, the ability to spawn vehicles, or mess with different commands that the feature test and cheat permissions allow you to do. So you won't be able to enable all the kits, for example, or that kind of thing on a licensed server. Those permissions are disabled. Just so people don't mess with the game in its vanilla state. When we talk about serverlizing, we're talking about essentially moving your server from one browser to the other in really simple terms, which means that in PostScriptum we have one browser, which is in Squad side the custom browser, i.e. it's the unlicensed browser. So that's the one browser we have PostScriptum at the moment. There are actually two. The other one's just hidden, can't see it. And that's the default one for Squad. They have a default server browser, and that browser defaults to every server that has a license applied to it. And so for us, like I said, it's hidden. It's not enabled, so you can't see it, but it's there. The idea essentially behind having a license in the first place is that it creates a common ground for all the hosters with a set of guidelines provided by us or Squad, and they define what the Squad hosters have to adhere to. So they have like a big guideline of stuff that they expect all the hosters to follow, just to ensure that the experience for your average Joe, your average player, remains somewhat the same over all the servers they're playing on, so they don't get vastly different experiences depending on where they play for the base game, that is. And these guidelines include stuff like naming standards, like how you name a server if your language is not, say, English. So if your server is French or Italian or whatever, there's different naming standards. So people know what server they're getting onto. They know that this might not be an English server for them. This does not mean that we're restricting to say your server is only English. Like, you can run whatever language you want, but just kind of informing people that this is already what's happening in PostScriptum as is. But it's just kind of informing people about what kind of server they're getting into from the get-go. And yeah, and essentially the second reason why these guidelines are going to define what players and admins can and can't do within reasonable limits. So for admins, for example, this means that players should be allowed to kick anyone from their section for any reason they want, no matter how stupid it might be, even if there isn't a reason. Those are one of the guidelines from the Squad guidelines, for example. And this is across all servers. Like, everyone should be allowed to run their own squad however they want that squad to be run. The same with the admins. The admins are allowed to enforce on the server their own rules within reasonable limits. For example, you can say all squad leaders have to have a microphone. That's fair. But you can't expect, for example, everyone in the squad to have a microphone, because that would be unfair for your average player who might not have a microphone, but is still willing, obviously, to communicate and cooperate via other means like chat. So essentially, what the licensing system is really is just a way for us to have somewhat of leverage and to moderate and ensure that players, new players, and your average player has the same experience, regardless if he's playing on a 40-1 server or if he's playing on an easy company server, so that the experience is somewhat going to be the same. Obviously, not all the rules are going to be the same, but they'll have the same experience. And as it stands now, hosters kind of have free reign at the moment, meaning that we can't remove your server. We can't tell you no for anything. Like, if you wanted to spawn in tons and tons of tigers, we'd say don't do it, but realistically, we can't stop you. We can't stop you from doing so. With a license, for example, we can. We can say, please don't do this thing, because it's not fair or it's not good for the community. So it kind of allows us to at least moderate somewhat what servers are being run, and to ensure that admins aren't abusing their systems, their players, or it's just harmful towards our community. Because otherwise, we end up with a bunch of servers who will kick people, admin for instance, who will kick people for roles or for certain things, or even if they just don't like them, for example. So that's the kind of stuff we kind of want to avoid, and that's the general idea behind having a license, that we can tell you, don't do that. If you do that, then we'll have a problem. And in the future, which means that as it stands now, because we don't have any licensing, you can do whatever you want. And it also means the servers that run, say, events and training are all filtered into the same public server list that the public servers are on. And that clutters a whole lot. And so when you have a license, you can declutter the server list and say only the servers that are actually, public servers are on the list. So we don't have 100,000 different training servers and event servers on the same list as the people who are just looking to play Postscriptum, right? And that's essentially, the introduction of a server license. It's really just a way to moderate the server browser and a way to ensure that your average player has the same experience across servers, and that all the hosters are on the same level ground and playing by the same rules. So there's no unfairness. Nobody is doing something others shouldn't. So it's always going to be a fair game for everyone. That also encourages competition, because within these rules, you'll have to manage essentially your own community to ensure that you're going to stay relevant, and you're also going to ensure that you have to follow set guidelines, and those guidelines will help your server, and it'll help all your players as well, so that everyone gets a good experience when they're playing. But most of you already know what licensing is. So for most of you, it's just kind of blah, 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 blah. The big question is, when will we get licensing? And what does this mean for Postscriptum? So, and we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, since the game released. And we plan currently. So in early 2020, we started talking with Offworld about how can we do this? How can we make a licensing system happen for Postscriptum? And for Squad, or for us, this means that we're looking at integrating Postscriptum's licensing system and server hosting platform with that of Squad's and Offworld, which means that the Squad hosting Discord or the Offworld hosting Discord and Postscriptum's hosting platform will become one and the same. This kind of helps all the hosters, from both games be on the same platform, makes your support easier, and it makes the sharing of resources and knowledge seamless and much less spread out. So we don't have people split out across different Discords talking about essentially the same thing. And in terms of when, that's where things become a little complicated for us. Because like I said, in early 2020, we started off by getting in touch with Offworld about licensing and how we best could approach it. And since then, we've just kind of talked back and forth to come up with, a system of how could we make licensing work using Offworld's and Squad's own systems. And they've been figuring out how they could do it, because it's, a two-way thing. And Offworld decided to rewrite their entire backend for licensing, which means that licensing isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Like, it's not an overnight thing. Like, we need to plan this quite extensively, both internally with Offworld and, of course, you hosters, because guidelines and stuff, you guys are a big part of this. So we'll have to work alongside you guys to make sure that the licensing system is also going to be fair towards you guys, and not just, what we want, but also what you guys kind of expect. Like, for example, seeding bots, right? Do we want seeding bots? No, probably not, because it's unfair. It's not fair to just have a bunch of a client just sitting on a server emptily. That's kind of the stuff that we can mitigate with a license. So in terms of when we'll get it, it's hard to say. But it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that it'll come to PostScriptum sometime in 2020. But due to the fact that Offworld is currently rewriting their entire licensing backend, there will be a bit of delay, and the scope of which we're not actually sure. That kind of concludes my stuff about server licensing, what it'll mean for PostScriptum, just kind of what it is. So I think we'll talk about it.
Sorry, Duncan, I'm a little late. So just to recap, what are the implications behind having a server license as opposed to not having one?
The implication is currently for PostScriptum, you have one browser. You have the game browser, right?
Right.
Instead of one, we'll have two, probably. We'll have a licensed browser and we'll have an unlicensed custom browser. The difference between the license is that when applied on a license, you'll be shown on one server browser compared to the other, and obviously, the licensed one will be the default preferred one. So it not only highlights your server, but it filters the event servers, the bad servers, the training servers into their own kind of corner
Right.
of licensing. It's not to say that licensing isn't something anyone can get. In theory, if you're meeting the server requirements for a license, anyone can apply for a license. We don't say you can't have a license because we don't like you. We might say, well, we've seen evidence that you misused your permissions or whatever, and then we can decide to say no. But it's not like we'll say no because someone doesn't like you within the team. Like, it has to be actually based on breaking some kind of a rule that everyone essentially follows. So, I don't know if that answers the question for you. So
Right.
the implication of a license is that if you don't have a license, your server will just kind of be shoved over into a corner and hidden away with all the event servers and training servers. And that's kind of the implication of what happens if you don't play fair. Like, if you abuse your powers, if your admins abuse your powers and abuse your players, then we'll take away their license. And whether or not you can apply for a new license is going to be up to what you've done essentially.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, this is also going to apply to the whitelisted mods. If a mod that you guys deem to be
Whitelisting a whitelisted mod is talking exclusively about licensing.
Yeah.
Once modding comes into the game, anyone can run mods without a license. The whitelisting applies to licensed servers, i.e., whitelisted mods are mods that are allowed to run on licensed servers. If you were to apply a non-whitelisted mod to a licensed server, the server license would disable per default.
become defunct, right?
Or we'll talk about the whitelisted
sure.
mods later.
Okay, cool. All right,
Anyone
okay.
else? Anything about server licensing they'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I've got one.
Sure.
You briefly mentioned it. We can disable the server license temporarily, right?
Oh yeah. So if you're doing an event, we encourage you to just disable the license. In your server config folder, you have a license file. All you'll have to do is just copy that out or comment out the license from that file, and it'll disable the license. Then your server will just be moved to the custom browser, and you'll just put that on and off as you need. So if the same server you're using is public is also your event server, just remove the license and just do your event and then put the license back on afterwards.
So it could be
And
nice.
So not much of a problem there. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question. What is the process looking like to get the license at this moment in time?
So at the moment in time, the process to getting a license would be to head to the Offworld Industries website, and they have a form for how you can get a license. It's already set up with PostScriptum on it. It doesn't work, but it's there. And you just go through the form. They have a form over there that essentially you put in your server name, how many images you have, what your server hardware is, and that kind of thing. And then we or Nordic, or either NI or Nordic will then review said license and then approve or deny the license based on the information provided. So there are certain requirements for your server, like you need to have enough admins to adequately admin your server. Your hardware needs to be able to support PostScriptum and or Squad, right? So it's a fairly simple process of you apply via a form, and then someone will send you an email with the license, once approved. And then there's some stuff about when your license will deactivate. For example, for Squad, if your license is not being used for 2 weeks, it'll be disabled automatically, and you'll have to apply for a new one. So it's fairly simple, really. Not much to it. Did I answer your question? So it's essentially just a form you have to fill out, and that's how you get a license. Quite simple. And then you apply the license, and then you wait 10 minutes, and it should appear in the browser, in theory.
Nice.
Anyone else? Before I move on,
I've got another one.
come for it. Go for it.
How will this whole thing be controlled, and how will the reporting mechanism work so there's no abuse? For example, you kick someone from the server and they gather 10 friends and shout, admin abuse, revoke the
Yeah.
license.
So the process currently, obviously I can't reveal the internal details of how we actually go through with the review process, but if someone thinks that you abuse in your server, and keep in mind I'm from 2FGG, we've had lots and lots of these reports. Essentially what you do is there's a little form, a complaint form on the Squad website. You fill that form out and then share whatever evidence you might have, and then whoever is responsible would then investigate said claim, might even contact you and ask you about what happened, and then maybe ask for evidence. And in my time in hosting Squad, I've only seen about 4 servers ever get removed because of abuse. Reported that as larger servers I'm talking about here. So so even if you get 10 people to report, that's not going to change the outcome, because the review process itself goes in quite in depth about what's happening. Like we're not just going to look at a form and go, oh, there's 10 complaints, that means I did something. Like we'll actually go to investigate, because server abuse is quite serious, and a lot of people get very angry when they get kicked. And so a lot of the complaints, like 95% of the complaints are, even I would go as far as saying 98% of the complaints are just people being angry because they got punished for doing something. So it's quite fair. We've had tons of complaints for 2FGG when we used to run Squad, and never have we ever lost our license, even though we'd had hundreds of complaints. So it's a quite fair process. I'd say.
Sounds great.
All right. Anyone else?
Really quick, I must have missed this. So, what are the the qualities that your server has to have? Do we know that yet, or just basically powerful enough?
Sort of. I think they're going to be based on the same one we have for dedicated server. The dedicated server hosting setup we have on our support forum. Essentially, 6700K or 7700K. Something that's capable of actually running post scriptum at a reasonable tick rate. And that's something we kind of do on per basis. If you have, say, a Ryzen, like we'll take it by case. Some people have like an i9 99K, like that's more than enough for what you want to do. So the requirements are just, you have to be able to run your server at a certain tick rates in order to perform well. And yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they're fairly similar to what it's already at now. So if you run a server now, you're probably running something like an i7 7700K or something along those lines, equivalent. And so you won't have an issue. The only people who might have an issue are the people that are potentially running like the Xeon processors or whatever. Those are the people that might have a bit of issue getting a license. Because they are notoriously bad for postscriptum and Squad. Anyone else? Before I move on?
I've got another one.
Go for it.
We get the new server list you mentioned. Will we get server favorites then as well?
Potentially. That's kind of unrelated to server licensing. It's more of a like just a browser feature.
Yeah.
But I do believe it's on our Trello board of one of the things that we want to add, and one of the things we gonna polish up to make the experience better. So I think that's more of a general browser question rather than just
Yeah.
just the license server thing.
It just popped to my mind.
Yeah. All right. If no one else have anything for licensing, I'll move on to skirmish. Ooh, dangerous.
Dangerous.
I just quickly posted Nordic's licensing thing for squad in the community meetings. Questions regarding.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So, moving on to skirmish feedback. So recently we updated Post-Scriptum to have a skirmish game mode, and it's not what it is for squad. It's essentially a glorified team deathmatch. And we've had a lot of questions and a lot of feedback about why we're not doing what squad does. Like why we're not just doing the same thing squad did. Right? The simple answer to that is that it's a lot more fun. Skirmish as it is now. It's a lot more fun. And skirmish as in squad is just AAS but smaller. We could we do a skirmish in the form of what squad does? Probably. Do we want to? Not really, because we already feel like we have that kind of game mode within AAS itself. And the thing you gotta remember is that we wanted something that even 2 or 4 people could enjoy. And so the design is purposefully chaotic for skirmish, i.e. kits unlocked. And it's meant to be chaotic fun. It seems like some hosters are taking skirmish tad too seriously, like more serious than they should. And while understandable, we want to reiterate that skirmish is a seeding game mode and not meant to be taken seriously. It's not meant as a pure permanent addition to your map rotation or your voting system. And it's purely meant to help kickstart the server until you reach, a certain amount of people to where you can play regular offensive or RAS without any seeding rules. With that said, we are open to feedback, of course. And the next thing we're kind of looking at is the infantry section that you guys been asking about, and unlocking the kits for those. So if you're playing the section, you're not at a disadvantage, and that's kind of due to how the whole section system works. We thought we could just kind of plop the section in, but we can't. So that is something we're working on to make sure that you can play in a section, but still have all the kits available to you. I want to keep you guys to keep giving us feedback. Like keep telling us, what do you like, what do you don't like about skirmish. But keep in mind what the intention for skirmish is at the end of the day, and what we just said with the whole, it's chaotic fun. It's not meant to be taken seriously. I don't know if anyone have anything on this. Otherwise, I'll just move straight on.
Yes, a little bit. Most of my community said the game mode is fun, but the maps aren't really up for it.
Definitely, and we are definitely working on reworking some of the maps to make sure that the flow of the game is a lot better. And we want you to keep giving us that kind of feedback. Like that kind of feedback, we can definitely work with. Like we can definitely work with that. But people who say that, oh, it's not fun because everyone's running around with a sniper or Panzerfaust, I mean, fuck me, that's a lot of fun.
It really is. Yes.
Lobbing Piets and Panzerfaust at each other, I've never had so much fun. Yes, people
Yeah.
running around with a 1,000 sniper rifle, but whatever. That doesn't matter. It's just a seeding game mode. People are taking a little tad too serious, but we do like the feedback and definitely the map stuff. Keep giving it to us. Like if you feel like the spawns are too close or people can get too close to main bases, that kind of thing. Like keep giving us that stuff because we can definitely work with that without any problems.
Yeah, copy. Thanks.
But we have some more skirmish questions coming in the Q&A, so I'll just quite move this on.
Yeah.
To the big thing or the semi-big thing, which is SDK, sandbox, and whitelisted mods. And oh boy, is this one a big one. So where do we even start with this one? I think we're going to start with sandbox because that's going to be the most obvious one. And for most people, what the hell is sandbox? Because a lot of people don't actually know what sandbox is. And sandbox is essentially Zeus mode from Arma, if you can imagine it. It's a way of building and modifying a game in a live environment to create custom missions and events. It's tailored towards those people, Easy Company, who spend hours and hours building events, and want more flexibility with proper like triggers and creation of custom objectives and that kind of thing. And we have been working on sandbox pretty much since release, but we had to stop during the 2019, like summer 2019, due to 4.2.1 and the upgrade. But we have an early prototype of the game mode, and I don't know. Some people have said, have you even been working on Sandbox? Like, is it even a thing? Is it ever coming? I was allowed to share a preview of the Sandbox game mode, a prototype of the placement system for the Sandbox, which I'm just gonna share in the community chat here for you guys to see. It's an early prototype from summer of 2019 of the placement system in a live environment. So it's working. We have it in the editor. We just haven't been able to dedicate the time to really flesh it out. But it's possible. That's the bottom line here, is that it's not something we're just making up. Like, this is possible. The question is just how long will it take us? And this is the proof of concept that this exists. Like, we can do this. And we expect Sandbox. Like, don't take this for this is going to come, but we're expecting this to come in 2020. Now that we're done with all the 4.2.1 stuff and chapter 2 and chapter 3, we can spend some time working on this stuff. And Sandbox will probably come before the SDK will, I'd imagine, but I don't want to confirm that. Because you got to remember that Sandbox or Zeus is new territory. Like, nothing like this has been done in Unreal Engine before. Nevertheless, in the Squad platform. So we've got a lot of plans for what we want to do with Sandbox. A lot of it revolves around giving you as much freedom to build as you want. And we can't wait to share more about Sandbox with you once we get the system progressed and we kind of have something we can actually show off. So I hope this kind of, eases you a little bit to where you can say, it's actually there. Like, we do have it. We're not making this up. This is not some kind of a fictitious tale. I'm just going to move on here to the next thing, which is the SDK, or our software development kit for PostScriptum. This one is fairly simple and essential because it's just a Squad SDK for PostScriptum. I mean, what more can I say about it? It's a Squad SDK for PostScriptum. And if you're a modder, the Squad SDK is actually a really good place to start because it's the same thing, basically, without the PostScriptum assets. And if you're anxious to get working on, maps and modding, that is an ideal place to get started. Because, all the systems are there. But it'll work essentially the same way as the Squad SDK. And, I don't really have too much to say about this other than it's the Squad SDK, but with PostScriptum. That's very exciting. And like Sandbox, we expect this to come in PostScriptum in 2020 as well. I don't want to confirm that either, but that's the plan.
Question?
That's what question. Yes.
Well, you mentioned that now that chapter 2 and chapter 3 are done, you can focus on this. Are they done? Because we've got 2 maps for chapter 2 and we haven't seen anything for chapter 3 yet.
Yeah, so I should probably reiterate what I meant with that. I mean, once we're done with chapter 2 and chapter 3, which will be, sometime this year, well, we don't really have anything else on our plates at the immediate moment in time, which means we can dedicate all of our time into doing Sandbox, SDK, whitelist mods, civilizing, quality of life stuff, instead of building towards more content. And we'll talk more about chapter 3 and chapter 2. Not a lot, but we'll talk a little bit about it. But yeah, essentially, like Sandbox, we expect it to come in 2020. Like, don't take that as 100%, because this is game development. Shit changes. Shit goes wrong. It's the periscope effect, my dude. The exact time frame for when we want this is not exactly known, but we'll share, more information once we actually get closer to where it's ready and where we can kind of start working on getting it out there. And lastly, whitelist mods, because this one kind of ties into the SDK quite a lot. And you gotta expect that with whitelist mods, this thing won't come until both the SDK and server licensing is working for PostScriptum, obviously. So essentially, whitelisted mods are, for those who don't know, are developer-approved mods that can run on licensed servers. These are mods that we have tested, thoroughly reviewed and tested to ensure they're stable, optimized, and doesn't introduce excessively offensive content. Let me reiterate what I mean by that. I don't mean swastikas. If you want to do a swastika mod, you can probably get it whitelisted. It's probably not a problem because we don't take liability for it. But we're talking grossly excessive, excessively gross content, like stuff you really don't want there. Like we don't want rainbow soldiers all over the place. That doesn't really scream PostScriptum. Oh, I'm sorry for that. I am terribly sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. I bought my microphone here. I'm sorry. But we're working with Offerall to create the outlines for the whitelisted mod stuff, and it's still quite far out there. Like we're still not there. And like I said, we'll speak a lot more about it once we have all the material and information to actually talk about it. Because I don't actually know a whole lot about whitelisted mods at this time. I just know we're working on it. And then the final item on my list before we head over to anyone have any questions about that?
I do. Yeah. So
Yes.
sandbox mode. I'm imagining just a blank canvas. Is there anything that you know of that's not going to be possible with sandbox?
Not at this moment.
For
I
instance,
think one of the things that'll be tricky for us to do is going to be the ability to save and load mission files, i.e., being able to load your pre-built. So the idea is to be able to build your map and then load it into like a live server. That is going to be a bit tricky, but in theory, nothing is impossible because unlike modders, we have access to the source code, and so in theory, we could do whatever we want. There is no limit. It's just a matter of time it takes to code. So really, there is no limit to what we can do and can't, or we can and can't do. In theory, but there are limits. But there's a lot of stuff we can do, and Sandbox will be shaped by the community. So you guys will help, create Sandbox, and all the features you want in there. We have an initial idea about what we want with Sandbox and kind of the features we want, but obviously you guys know a lot more than we do about what you want and don't want.
yeah, right. So switching factions on a map, that'd be. I mean, obviously that's
Oh,
in
yeah.
the wheelhouse of a.
Being able to switch, set restrictions, kit restrictions, maybe even specific loadouts for like your own custom sections, etc. All that stuff will be possible.
So, quick question.
Yes.
Would you guys support bots in Sandbox?
That is a big unknown because the time it takes to create a network, an AI to work within PostScriptum, because PostScriptum at the end of the day is a game focused on human interaction and communication, and so bots, maybe that's a big maybe. We might be able to do something along the lines of what Squad has done with their AI. They have a basic AI. We might be able to do some kind of a basic AI that can do very basic stuff like shoot, or maybe be able to walk around a little bit. But don't expect like a super intelligent AI. And I don't want to promise an AI, but it's not something we can't do. Like we can do it. It's just a matter of time it takes to make it.
Yeah, and quality.
Yeah.
as well.
So
Okay,
So
cool.
but that's something we'll take when we get to that part, because at the moment we still need to kind of create the sandbox game mode and create all the basic functions. Then we can start looking at expanding it. Maybe even allow people to mod into sandbox, where you can put your mods into sandbox and use the mods on sandbox, something like that. But it's something we'll have to talk a lot about when we get there. I don't want to promise too much and say what we can and can't do, because what do I know? What do I know? I only know what I'm being told. No. Anyone else have anything about the SDK, whitelisted mods, or sandbox?
SDK question.
Yes.
Could people basically start a mod in the Squad SDK and port it over to PostScriptum?
In theory, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of assets that might be missing, but you definitely can. You can definitely make a map in Squad and then move it over later and just replace the assets.
Cool.
So that is definitely possible. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, but at least if you want to get started, I mean, there's nothing stopping, say, Amish from making his Omaha Beach map in Squad SDK and then moving it over. Because in the end of the day, we are using a lot of Squad's assets, like a lot of the movement system, a lot of the, the gameplay and game code is the same. There's just a lot of assets that are our own, and so those will naturally not work when you get over, or might not work when you get over to our core, because we take out a lot of Squad things because otherwise it'll be hundreds of gigabytes. It's already quite large. But yeah, you can definitely.
Okay, awesome.
You could also just do it in clean Unreal Engine. Like you don't have to do it in the Squad SDK. Squad SDK is just easier because it has all the game mode blueprints and stuff in it, so you won't have to do that later. But you can. I don't also have anything for that subject, Sandbox SDK or whitelist of mods. Please don't say whitelist of mods.
So to put a bow on it, again, no set time. It's going to come at the end of all this. So after licensing, after Sandbox, most likely the SDK will come out.
Yes, because it relies on both.
Yeah.
In order to create mods, you need the SDK, and in order to use whitelist of mods, you need the licensing. So it depends on both of them.
So I'm not going to expect 2020 then.
I'm going to say we're aiming for it. We're going to try it. That's why I didn't put any time frame on it, because again, it kind of depends on it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the SDK, and it depends on when we can introduce licensing and stuff. But
I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm just
in theory, whitelist and modding itself is not very hard. It's the prerequisite. It's the stuff that we need to do before. That's the stuff that take time. Whitelist and mods itself doesn't necessarily take a lot of time, because that's just stuff we have to change and add you to an approved list, and that's about it. So if you're whitelist and mods itself is not the hard part to do. It's the stuff before that. If that makes
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. Also, you mentioned Third Reich imagery when it comes to mods. You would think that'd be an approved mod if we were to add historically correct uniforms, so on and so forth.
I won't say yes, but I won't say no, because it depends on the mod developer. It depends on the mod itself.
Yeah, I mean anything glorifying the
But
Third Reich.
in theory, no. I mean, it's historical. It goes in line with postscriptum. The reason why we don't do it is because of the law. We just don't want to be incomplete. Because you do it and we approve it doesn't make it ours. You're still your mod. I mean, we can't claim liability for it, nor can the German government. And so we can't do it, but we're not saying you can't do it. And all the stuff is already in the SDK. They're just hidden or disabled. All it takes for you is just to enable it back in.
Wait, sorry.
The SDK itself.
Let me backtrack. Are you saying that this imagery is already there? We just have to flick a switch?
Essentially, it's in the SDK. It's in the SDK. It's there because we of course it's there. we just disabled it. It's just a matter of re-enabling it. So what you could do with a mod is you could just go back and enable it and just release it on a mod, and there you go, bam. You got your symbology back. Most of the stuff is already there. Some of it might not be updated anymore, but most of it's there. It's just textures. Not more than that. But yeah, I think we'll move on.
Yeah, sure.
Unless you have anything else. I take that as a no.
Yeah, actually, got a quick question. Say, for example, if we wanted to do some sort of African map,
it's a question about is it a whitelisted mod question?
No, it's an SDK question.
Okay.
Would we be able to import base maps from Squad to use them in PostScriptum, i.e., like a desert map?
I mean, I don't be that guy, but they're already there. Most of the base, some of the base game modes and some of the base objects are still in. There's a reason why the Abrams is still in PostScriptum. We haven't removed it. A lot of stuff is still in there because we use some of the assets. Some of the assets that Squad has is some of the assets we use as well, and so some of the maps are still there. So in theory, you could just I say in theory, but because there's a discrepancy between updated between updated game or Unreal Engine, it might be a bit difficult, but in theory it's possible. In theory you can. It might not be easy, but you can because of the whole they're at 2.3 almost or 4.3 or 4.23. I'm sorry, we're still at 4.21. So we're always going to be behind Squad, but you can in theory, yes. So yes, you can do your LL main and whatever.
Answers my question.
Right. So I'll move on before we get any more SDK questions. We'll have lots of time to answer SDK questions because there's like 1,000 of them in the fucking comments or the questions. We'll go on to territory control game mode, and some of you who are Squad guys know this game mode quite well. It's not a particularly light game mode for Squad, but we feel like we might be able to do better. And this is going to be the final item on my list before we hit the Q&A. Territory control. Like I said, already exists in Squad, and it plays a lot like AAS, with the difference of having a lot more capture zones, like hexagon capture squares, that are connected. And so players have to connect, essentially connect the dots, connect the hexagons with your team. This requires teams to manage their teams and sectors much more carefully to not get flanked and not encircled and that kind of thing. And we want to bring this game out to Postscriptum because we feel like it might offer, more of a frontline feel to Postscriptum that it's lacking at this moment in time. That's one of the things we hear often is people are like, oh, it doesn't feel like a real war. It doesn't feel like a frontline. But we don't want to just copy and paste the game mode because we're not like that. Instead, we want to give it kind of our own twist. I don't want to say too much other than that. Like, that's kind of all I can say about it. We want to give it our own twist. The details of that, I can't say too much about. Anyone have any question about territorial control? I don't assume there's a lot of questions about this.
I think it's an asinine a critique that doesn't feel like a real war, or whatever that means. I mean, we're talking about engagement at the small unit level here, right? I mean, 40 on 40 shouldn't feel like a war amongst miles and miles of. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. But in any event, it sounds interesting. Options are good. So
yeah, and like I said, you'll get a lot more information once we figure out what the hell we're gonna do with this, because we're still kind of planning this mode. We know we want it, but we just still not kind of need to figure out how would it work best for Postscriptum. How would it fit?
Is this also
game.
planned for 2020?
Yes, I think it's one of the first things to come after Chapter 3. I do believe. I know that much, but I can't say much about what it entails yet. So, anyone have any other questions about territory control before we move on to the Q&A? Oh yeah, and you can keep asking your questions in the question section. I'll do my best to answer them as we go through this list here. But if nobody else have anything about territory control, I'll move on to the Q&A, and we'll get this wrapped up.
To be fair, we can't ask that much because we don't know that
exactly.
much.
That's what I expected. Right. So I'm going to take the first question. The first question was, are there more or other forms of artillery planned? Howitzer, Nebelwerfer, that kind of thing. We might come with more forms of artillery down the road. We don't have anything planned at the moment in forms of more artillery. This is one of those type of decisions that can come, at very short notice. Because it takes a long time for us to kind of figure out what we want to do. We're always open to adding more heavy or light assets, so long as it's fitting for the game mode and it doesn't unbalance or compromise Postscriptum's gameplay. So that's a big maybe. I mean, we're not opposed to it. We'd like to, as long as it fits within the scope of the game. Are there any plans for rework of the Logi section? More soft to build, concealment trenches. At the moment, no. There's no plans for expanding the Logi sections because we're kind of busy with Chapter 3. But there is the intention, and internally we'll revisit it and kind of do more with the Logi section to maybe make them feel a little bit more useful and be able to do a little bit more with them. So we'll probably do something with it at some point, but not right now. No. Will the commander get some love or an overhaul? More call stuff to call in, more frontline viability. Unless it's more, future game mode specific stuff, probably not. Just because, I mean, the commander himself is kind of that role. Like, we have some plans for the commander and his role, but it's nothing, nothing major overhaul. Like, it's small stuff. Next question is, what happened to random offensive? Its development suffered kind of setback as we realized to make it work properly, we'd have to take considerable amount of time coding time, because it that was needed elsewhere. Like, at the time we were still doing 4.2.1 and fixing stuff for 4.2.1, and so when we kind of delved into random offenses initially, we realized there's a lot more work here than we initially thought there would be. We might go back to it in the future, but don't hold my word on it. It's one of those, we want to, but we're not sure if we're going to. And here's the big one, and I think you're gonna like this one. Flamethrowers. We'd love to, but at the moment there's no plans for it, because it might hog performance on top of
Thank
needing
God.
to make it look good. We'd love to, or we'd need to, properly investigate flamethrowers and the ability to make flamethrowers in PostScriptum and this environment before we can commit ourselves to it. So it's not like we're not saying no. We're saying if we can do it, and if there later down the line it's a possibility to, there's definitely a will to do it. Like, internally, we'd love to. Like, we will probably do it internally. We'll probably play around with it because we did it with Gore. Gore wasn't on our plans or list of plans, but it was just kind of an internal testing thing that someone did, and ended up being a feature. And that could very much happen with a flamethrower as well. So we're not saying no to flamethrowers, but we're not saying yes to them immediately. It's something we'll have to take time to look at. And if we do, you betcha we'll let you know. You bet we'll let you know. So, moving on to the next one. Will armor section be reworked for the normal game mode? For example, crew members per tank like armored mode. What I guess they mean is predetermined squads, predetermined sections. And we read feedback on the matter, and we agree that it would be more sensible to have that kind of system rather than how it is now. How fast it'll come depends on the availability of the coder. So this one is on the list of things we want to do, and we are going to do. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it. So will armor sections be reworked for the normal game mode the same they are in armored? Yes, they will. At some point. Will we get more frequent updates, information about the state of the game, planned updates? The roadmap on the homepage are pretty outdated and confusing. Third map for Chapter 2 before Chapter 3. Now there's teaser for Chapter 3, but no third map. This one is a bit of a long one. First off, the roadmap. The roadmap gives a general overview of the major features that are yet to come. Not all of them are listed, in the order that they'll come. They're just kind of on there. And not all the features that we want are on there, because otherwise it'll be even more confusing. It allows us to incrementally proceed in testing and improving, small and major things along the way that are not listed on that list. And the roadmap itself, very few things are set in stone and in no particular order, as stated on the bottom of the roadmap. And I personally feel like the roadmap itself is actually quite updated. We update it almost every time we do a major release where the roadmap requires an update. And so the best thing for you to do is actually to follow the roadmap. You can always find the most recent version of the roadmap on our website. There's a little button for the roadmap on the website. Or you can go to postscriptum.com/roadmap, and it'll be on there, the most recent version. In forms of, information about what is coming, what is planned, we're not going to disclose, specific important, things that are coming in, in terms of content. Like we're not going to disclose everything, because it's necessary for us to moderate, the expectations. We don't want to say something and then you're expecting something to come and then we might not be able to deliver on it. And so we're very careful with how we approach the whole expectations, supply, demand, delivery kind of thing. Yet having said this, with chapter 3, we are making it very painfully obvious what the chapter is. Everyone here knows what the next chapter is. And I'm not gonna acknowledge, I'm not gonna say yes or no, but I will say everyone here knows what it is. Like it's painfully obvious. And that is, kind of our desire to kind of reveal stuff pre-trailer, rather than, having a bunch of teasers that don't tell you much and then a reveal. Because there's hype to contend with, and too much too early means less tolerance to wait for it. So if we give you too much, you'll be unable to wait for it, and then you'll be, angry or disappointed, or you'll keep asking about when is stuff coming. So moderation is important when it comes to this kind of thing, and we want to be careful committing ourselves too much to something, because that's burned us in the past. If anyone remembers our launch, we've been here before. This we're not going down this route again, and we don't intend to go down that route again. We also believe that, the news for the game and how often we patch and how often we inform you guys about stuff that's coming, we're doing very well in terms of informing you guys ahead of time what is coming, what we're doing. Like we're not being quiet by any means. Like we're not leaving you guys in the dark at any point. We might not reveal everything, but we're not leaving you in the dark. Like we're saying chapter 3 is coming and we know it's coming. We're just not saying when, because we don't want to commit to. So I hope that answered the question of, more frequent updates. And I do believe Postscriptum and Periscope itself, I feel like we do a very good job at keeping you guys informed and updated. And I don't think any of you, disagree that you're not being informed and kept up to date with what's happening.
I have a follow-up question. Can we expect a third chapter 2 map before chapter 3?
We'll come to that.
Okay.
Because it's in here.
Sure.
Will there be more exotic chapters coming? For example, Pacific Africa campaign. We already have an idea for what we want to do next. Like we're still far out there. Like we haven't even started working on what comes next, but we have an idea of what we want to do next. But it's something we'll have to. We don't have an answer for you for this one. We don't have an answer of what we get next, because it depends on Postscriptum. How will Postscriptum do? Ideally, ideally we want to change the setting radically. I say that very carefully. But one thing is wishing, another thing is having a proper resource to do so. So, there's stuff we want to do. Like we want to do some really cool stuff, and I agree. I think you guys would agree that some of the stuff that we are planning is pretty cool, but we need to have the means to do so, and we need to have the time and the wish to do that. And we aren't a very big team. Keep that in mind. Like we are only like 12 people, not even that anymore. And it takes methodical planning when it comes down to how well. It also depends on how well chapter 3 does, because at the end of the day, since release, we haven't made any money on any of the content we've given you. It's all been free for everyone. The only money we make is the sales that come in from people who buy Postscriptum itself. That also kind of, when people talk merch, maybe. It's definitely not impossible that we do merch. It's just a matter of actually doing it and getting it done. So that's the question of, will we get more exotic chapters coming? We have an idea, yes, what we want to do. But actually doing it is different thing. It depends on how well 2020 is doing for us. Will the commander crew be able to fire out of their tank with handguns, throw smoke grenades? We had the intention to do so from the very beginning, actually. And we'll need to hard visit, like we need to revisit this kind of thing, and look at how we could execute Like we need to revisit how you turn in and out of your tank in order to do this, because the way that the entire system works is kind of funky, and so it's not supported. It will never support in its current form the use of handguns outside your tank ever. So we need to go back and revisit that entire part of the code and the entire part of the game. And again, coders' time's precious in 2020, and we need to go through a lot of stuff as well. So we're not saying no, but it's one of those things that'll take a lot of time to do, because we need to go back and revisit original stuff that we did way back. Will we ever get manual gear shifting in tank to traverse upslopes more easily? We have the intention to add gears to tanks, and it's coming. It will be coming. That is confirmed. So gear shifting will be coming to Postscriptum. But it's going to be, priority. It's again all about a priority. We'll go back to it once we're at a better place where we have more time available to it and investigate it further. Vehicle driving and even the damage work in complex way. We kind of want to build a lot of stuff upon our existing vehicle and armored mechanics. So there's a lot of things that we're not satisfied with. So there's a lot of things in the current system that are workarounds. Like there's things that we're not satisfied with, and we want to revert them because we want to make proper tank gameplay. We want to ensure that the tank gameplay is just as fun as the infantry gameplay. And we agree, it's not as fun right now. It's just not.
Can you elaborate on that? What you want to change?
I can't elaborate fully on what one change, but I can't say that we want to make sure that the tank gameplay is much more fun and better for the tank crew, because currently the tank meta for Postscriptum, it doesn't really favor tanks at all. And that's unfortunate because tanks are a huge part of World War II and Postscriptum, and we want to make them more important.
So you're hinting at an AT change?
Yes, there will be AT changes, for sure. When will it be coming is a bit of a question. But, having to go through each vehicle and having to do all this stuff with the vehicles is time-consuming. And having to rework the entire system is also time-consuming. Then there's the fact of, what we can and can't do in terms of network load. Like, we can't do accurate spalling within vehicles. We'd love to. That'd be dope. It'd be dope to do. But we can't. The game
Sorry,
just
to do
won't-
what?
Spalling, like you hit a tank, it'll spall inside the tank, kill crews, whatever. Stuff like dead tanks that are not exploded, that kind of thing. We'd love to do that kind of thing, but we can't.
Yeah, you said an AT change. Are you talking about an AT nerf?
AT change is all I can say right now. There's a question about it later, and I'll elaborate a little bit more about it. But there is something coming for it. But yeah, in terms of manual gear shifting, there is manual gear shifting coming to Postscriptum. It's just a question of when we'll have time to do it. We have a prototype for it as well. I don't have the video, but we have one where we're testing it. And I think a tank could start driving from stop at a 45-degree slope without problems. So there is something coming. But the extent of when, still unknown. But once we have more news, trust me, we'll let you know, because that one of those this is one of those kind of cool features. So if you're not already watching our social medias like Twitter, Facebook, etc., you definitely should be, because we do post a lot of stuff on there that we don't always post everywhere else. That's a little advertisement there. Will we see any form of armored recovery vehicles so we can repair tanks on the front line or tow them to the nearest repair station? We considered it for the armored game mode, actually. But then there was the discussion of if someone really wanted to do logistics just for that, and having everyone be dependent on that one section. And at the moment, we're not considering implementing any sort of recovery vehicles. Especially since we have the whole resetting vehicles. There's no real need to have it at the moment. Are you planning to introduce an end of match summary page with tickets? As in Squad, a similar summary would help us fix the scoring system. Yeah. So in terms of end of match summary, we're not entirely happy with the scoreboard as it is now. But other than a few talks, we haven't really approached changing it yet. Like we haven't actually looked into changing it. We've talked about it a bunch, but we haven't actually, done anything yet. So we'll be completely honest. An individual summary, a la close combat, was one of the thoughts we had since the beginning. But there's a different array of opinions that we had to consider from the community as well as internally. But it's something we'll look into in the future. Modifying the scoreboard to offer you more information, maybe be a little bit more better, a little better for the users and the players. Let's see. The illicit team in Champions reported. So this is about the mortar bug that everyone's been pestering me about for ages now, where you can hop on a mortar, fire a mortar at a preset destination. You can hop off the mortar and hop on another mortar, and you can keep firing because the reload animation or the reload continues after you're off the mortar. We are aware about how unfair this is, and it's brought to our attention by community members, you guys, and our own testing team, including Winter. And we've added to our Trello board, so it will be fixed. We just need to look at how we're going to fix it. The simple fix will probably just be to stop the reload animation or stop the reload if you hop off the mortar or restart it. That way, you're stopping that entire thing. It'll become a non-issue again.
May I add a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Since you mentioned the mortars, will there be a fix for the mortar buildable in the main bases?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a thing. And if it is a thing, you should definitely just keep reporting it to bug report.
Okay.
And
yeah, I think it's an exploit. That's why I don't post it there, so it doesn't spread like cancer.
Then I would definitely recommend sending it to Winter.
Okay.
Because he can.
So you're saying like the mortar's building in the base, right?
Yeah, you can build mortars
so
in your own main base.
Currently, like on easy, we actually have a server rule that prevents you from doing that. So if you're spotted doing that, we handle it. So that's my recommendation for now.
Yeah,
for the
we've
server
got one
hosters
on our server as well.
But it's definitely
it's
definitely an issue, and it should definitely be fixed. That is 100%. I would send that to Winter, and then he can report it internally. I would say you can send it to me, but I get crazy tons of messages like all the time, and so
I don't get that many.
Sometimes I lose count of my messages. You gotta remember that when I wake up every morning, I might have about 30 or 35.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So
just to let you guys know, if you guys got stuff you want to report and you don't think Snazzy like impacts them, to me, I have all the same stuff that Snazzy does, so I can report it internally through the same channels.
I will back you in the future. You can count on that.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to always send it to Winter, because I might not see it, and if I don't, I'm terribly sorry ahead of time. I just get a lot of messages, and it's hard to keep track of what I have and haven't responded to. So, moving on to the next question, we're almost halfway. Holy shit! Luck is going to start speeding up now. Voting is underway to introduce French maps into the European Championships. There's a lot of stuff about the anti-tank rifles not being effective and the 3 kilo explosive charge not doing the same effect as in Chapter 1. Are we planning to fix this? We're discussing internally at the moment to revisit anti-tank rifles, the damage they do and causes to the tank. So a change is bound to happen for this. When is a question, but there will be a change to anti-tank rifle and that gameplay, especially with potentially destructible tracks coming in the future. Are we going to get fixed admin commands such as trace view toggle, crit squad, etc.? So most of the commands in PostScriptum already work. Some of these commands are not yet implemented to work over Archon, though, which is on our Trello board, by the way. It's been on our Trello board for a while, and it's one of those things that we need to look into. But everything else comes down to coder time and availability of said coders, because they have a lot of stuff to do. They're busy people. And so fixed admin commands, definitely. It's on our board, at least the Archon stuff is. Could Radio Man refresh the rally point to keep SLs more engaged in the field and allowing more spread out responsibility and not overwhelming new SLs so much? So what they're talking about is the ability for Radio Mans to refresh rally points. Not put down new one, refresh them. Because of the refresh, because the refreshing of the rally will reset the rally timer for setting down a new rally, it could potentially mean that the Radio Man could grief and troll using the Radio Man role, effectively stopping a squad leader from putting down new rallies. So we need to take more time to code them to be separate. And at the time, like all the other things, we don't really have the resources available to do this because coder time availability again. But it's not out of the question that we could do it. That's just a matter of, of doing such a system. Will we get improved suppression mechanics, which was set to be fixed? So I'm assuming they mean, that we nerf the radius for the suppression. It's a thin line to balance suppression in PostScriptum, and we've seen kind of mixed opinions on the matter. Some say it's ideal, some say it's too lenient. We'll continue to actively look into suppression and want people to keep giving us feedback about it. Because obviously we want, the best mix, the best middle ground, and it might not be at the best middle ground right now. But obviously we don't want to just change it all the time because we don't want to keep changing the meta if we can avoid it, because it does change the meta regardless if we want it or not. So we're looking into it and want just, keep giving us the feedback about it. That's the best thing you can do. Just don't spam about it. Are you planning to fix the scoring system in skirmish mode? Currently you get all the points, but there's no ticket bleeding. So that's just like the skirmish feedback thing. Skirmish is intended for seeding purposes, and as we publish multiple times, it's in its description, it's meant for seeding, nothing more. With that in mind, we feel that a ticket bleeding system will drain time faster for one side, cause the round to end faster or too fast. The intention is to keep players around and have fun with whatever weapons they decide to choose for as long as possible until the server have enough bodies to change to proper game mode. As proved by game modes from other games, which includes Project Reality, first flag camping is a possibility, and we don't want to incentivize players of one team to exploit that strategy. It would defeat the purpose of the game mode. So the camp zones are just there to incentivize people to move around the near cab zones, but they don't actually do anything. It's just a pseudo effect. Like they don't drain your tickets, and that's purposefully. They're just there so people don't run aimlessly around the map and never see each other. They're just there to kind of help people push them together into one place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, to go on with that. So if you had like only 5 people on your server, and then one of them just went through and capped all the points, there goes your whole seeding session.
Yeah.
It would ruin it completely.
Yeah, copy.
Yeah. Follow-up question to that.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be possible to have a server setting that the skirmish mode basically resets under a certain threshold for players?
Definitely. But the problem is coder time.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like we'd love to do all these things. Trust me. If we could do everything at once, we would do it.
Yeah.
God damn, we would do it. Flamethrowers, you got it. Advanced armor mechanics, you got it. But
Can you tell us what your priority is at the moment then?
Yeah.
Currently, fixing chapter 2. Fixing all the mechanics, making sure that the gameplay and all the quality. Currently, we're working on a lot of quality life stuff to ensure the game doesn't age too badly. For example, all the new uniforms from chapter 1 is to make sure that the uniforms stay relevant into 2020 because they are 2 years old by now. And so a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now is quality of life stuff to just kind of keep longevity and ensure that the game keeps being replayable and people don't keep seeing the same bugs. So our priority right now is a lot of bug fixing, a lot of looking into various systems, a lot of ways we can improve the game and just kind of make it better. In terms of what our priority straight is, it really depends because our coders kind of have a list of stuff they want to do or need to do, and they just kind of pick off that list as they please. And some stuff is more important than others. like crashings. Like we don't want people crashing. That's more important than fixing a skirmish layer, for example. Those kind of things. So, what is our priority list? It really varies. I can't go into too much detail because I don't know how much I can say about our priority board, but there's a lot of stuff there. I guarantee you, it is full, and we keep getting more stuff reported all the time. So there's all stuff to do. But eventually we'll get through it slowly. I hope that answers your question somewhat. So it often happens. So the next question is: it often happens that skirmish matches involve infinite ranks of marksmen. Are you planning to keep the normal limit for marksmen to 2 per faction? Sections were added to skirmish game mode, but we don't have any changes planned for the moment about, restrictions of kits because that would defeat the purpose of having a game mode. If everyone wants to run around with marksmen, I mean, for me, fine, because it's not a serious game mode. That's what you gotta remember. I mean, I don't care if someone runs around with a sniper rifle. I'm gonna smack him in the head with a Panzerfaust either way. Like,
And
people think a little bit.
on the side of like when you create a squad, there is that kit restriction. That is a bug, and it is reported.
And
There
it will
shouldn't
be
be any
it will
restriction.
be fixed. It's something we'll be fixing.
Okay, thank you.
And we're continuously reading feedback about your skirmish, and we need more exposure personally to attest if the kits are detrimental to the fun. Since the balance is kind of inconsequential, like balancing in skirmish is not important at all because it's not a regular game mode. Had it been any other game mode, yes, definitely there needs to be a balance between the kits. But in skirmish, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and skirmish is still new, so
Yeah.
it needs a little more time.
It needs to
start.
take a little more.
Yep.
So now here's another question. I find the skirmish mode very useful in the game. However, I do not understand the choice to create it in a different way from the one already on squad. So this one was already kind of addressed. I just continue to say that it works very well and is often used by both clan training and for real small scale, clan matches. Are you planning on fixing skirmish mode to the one running on squad? No, we're not. There's no plans to change skirmish mode to what squad or PR does. It is more lenient, and it is that on purpose. It's chaotic on purpose, because it's trying to provide a more casual experience that even some regulars who might not even get to try all the weapons can have some fun and just play around, like mindlessly having fun. That's the entire point. We feel like PS large scale game modes are a lot more challenging than you find in the other game. And so this is just kind of, a fun game mode, a fun little thing for those who don't want to take it too seriously. So there needs to be something to contrast the hardcore nature of the current game. And skirmish, as stated before, is not and will never be in its final stage of completion. Like skirmish will never ever be fully done. Anything can happen, and it depends on community feedback. So if enough people rise up and say we want kit restrictions, or we want we want this or want that, yeah, sure, go for it. We'll add it. But it needs to be enough to where it warrants change. Just because a few people don't like it doesn't mean that everyone doesn't like it. And we have to make that distinction. Otherwise, we can keep making changes forever. Because nobody will ever be happy with anything. Like, there are certain things I don't like about the current game, but that doesn't mean I want everything to change about it. Right?
Well, just really quick, the line of logic in skirmish mode is it's a small game mode that caters to a small number of people on a server, but then the snipers detract from that because they want to sit in the bush and not engage, and so you're left with this, a problematic situation.
But being an extremely close quarter map already, the sniper doesn't really have all that, especially in a map like Grob. Like the sniper doesn't really have that much going for him.
Guys sit in a bush in every game mode. It's not just that one.
I mean, sure, we could do it, but there needs to be significant reason to do so.
I
I'm saying
mean,
that's logic that makes sense
otherwise,
to me. That's all. I mean,
yeah.
that's just
Otherwise, we can keep making changes forever. I mean, certain games were killed just based on the fact that they kept making changes to their game, the calling. So, and we want to avoid that.
I hear you.
So there you go.
That's minuscule to me, anyways. I'm just.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. Completely fine. My biggest question are will we be able to add additional armored squads to the game? And can we get all the vehicle available in game to spawn on all maps, even where those assets are not present? So we will, like I said, we will revise the armor section in terms of having static sections instead of pre-made or having pre-made sections instead of just creating your own section with 4-man crew as it is now. In terms of adding sections via command, no, probably not. You might have to wait for sandbox before that'll become a thing. As far as the ability to spawn vehicles that are not in the map via spawners, we can look into discussing with our coder about how much time he has to spare in order to do that. Because the thing is, Squad changed how they render. Because Squad initially, before they did the engine upgrade and all that, Squad was running on a system where they would load every single vehicle into every single game, regardless if they were on the map or not. That was what would allow you to spawn the map using Blueprint, M1A1, for example. Just that. Because it was already loaded on the map. It was already there in the code. It's not anymore. Now they're only loaded in when they're actually relevant on the maps, which means that in order to spawn vehicles now, you'd need the full reference path, which is the whole path of where the vehicle is, called game postscriptum. Very, very long string. Some of you have seen it.
So I didn't know on that, but how is that possible if all tanks and all vehicles are random spawns on every map now? Surely they must all be in the game if they all have a chance of spawning in.
No, they're randomized on the back end. So when the map changes, it randomizes that while the map has been loaded. It creates a seed for the map, and that seed bases essentially randomizes what is in spawner. So it's loaded in. Like, it's loaded in. When you load the map, the game already knows what vehicles are going to be in that map.
Why was that brought in? Because it was all fairly balanced before then. Now you got clan matches where you can't have balance.
I think the reason why it was brought in initially was to add more variety to the game mode, so make it a little bit more replayable, and to kind of give you the question of, what am I fighting this map? Is it a tad unbalanced as it is now? Yes, it's definitely is, and we have plans potentially to change it again.
Please.
Because we're not entirely happy with it either.
Like having a Churchill and a Stuart up against a Tiger or a Panther and a Panzer IV, the Stuart gets one hit all the time, and the Panzer IV still takes about 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah, and those are the situations that we're talking about. Yeah, and we want to try and avoid this. We want to try and make it better. Either make a system where it looks at both teams and then decides on a vehicle that is balanced based on both teams, rather than just spawning in random vehicles that it does now. Like, actually look at what is on both teams and then decide what will be on the spawner, or even just let everyone, bring it back to what it was before, where it would be a static tank.
If it's going to take a while, can we at least get like the Panzer III and the Stuart moved to like a recon vehicle? Because they take one hits as well. It makes sense.
We've started. I'll keep you up to par. Well, when we hear more changes, because I can't say too much about how or when we're going to change all of this, especially with the whole spawning vehicles and stuff. But I'll definitely keep you up to date about it once I know more about it. Because right now I don't really know all that much about it.
Just a quick.
I just know there's a lot of complaints about it, and we've heard it. We've heard the complaints.
Just a quick one.
And we are planning to make some changes.
Sorry,
we've started a card on it on our Trello board, just to be certain. So next one. Are you planning to create fire teams like in Squad? Infantry sections overall, we might have a few changes for the infantry sections in the coming weeks. So the infantry sections might have some changes coming soon. And testing them internally will be required, and yet at the end of the day, we might keep it as is. Like, there's no guarantee that fire teams will become a thing, because as far as I'm concerned, fire teams wasn't really that commonly used at that point, in that time period.
Not to say that we won't do it if it means it's good for the game or good for the balance. Like we would do it, but there needs to be a valid reason to actually do it. And as we see
division of
now,
the group and the squad, definitely. I mean, that was definitely a thing on both
but
sides.
but it's one of those things that we can't say too much about. We've discussed it a few times internally, but I can't say much more than that, other than we've talked about it. Whether or not we'll do it or not is still kind of up to debate. Who said something?
Perfect. No, perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was your question, was it?
Well, listen, you guys should be reaching out to us if you want to get things historically correct. There's plenty of people here, including myself, that can get things right for you. So I don't know if you guys have reached out.
And that's also the plan of why we kind of have these meetings, for you guys to tell me, what do you think? What do you think? Like, this is not just me talking to you, telling you about your things. Like you could also tell me, like, this is not, I don't like this. This should change or whatever. I mean, this is a two-way thing. I do this so that I can create a bridge and communication between you and the developers, and so we can have a talk. Because at the end of the day, you guys are incredibly important to PostScriptum and its longevity, and we know that. We know that full and well. How important hosters are to us, and so we value your opinion. We value everyone's opinion, and if everyone agrees that yes, there should be fire teams, we will definitely investigate it for sure. So
yeah, no, not necessarily a fire team, but yeah, division of the group.
But
and the squad.
changes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll send you a
changes.
message. Yeah, I'll send you a message. So
yes, definitely. Either me or Winter, either one works. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we'd like to do.
Sure.
So I'll move on. Will there be a platoon section in the future? A platoon section with the number of players per team at the moment doesn't justify its creation, because it'll take away from already many different sections and whatever. If we increase the player count, then it's a serious possibility that we'll create a dedicated platoon section. We talked about it. I even brought your own feedback to our developers, and they were like, "Yeah, we could do something like that." But there's a caveat, obviously. It needs to justify the creation of having one, and at the moment, there's just no reason to.
As a substitute,
in terms of, it'll take away too many players already.
It's not as a substitute. Could we get the commander to spawn on a
to the same version of Squad? We are looking into getting the Archon commands from Squad working similar to what Squad has. That includes chat log to Archon and all the Archon commands that you expect. But again, like everything else, coder time and availability. I voiced Archon stuff way back when 4.2.1 released, and it's still on our Trello board. So it's one of those things that we want to do, but we need to find the time to do it. So yes, we are looking into it. When? Can't say.
Yeah, sorry. Stokes had a question. That I was curious about hearing. Stokes.
Yeah, I was just saying, Snazzy. So I'm not sure whether my mic's picking up properly.
I think you might be on push your talk there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can't hear him, but we can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
Can Snazzy? Can you not hear me?
You sure you can hear Stokes? I can hear Stokes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no worries, mate. Just a quick question: was as a compromise with the command section?
You sure?
Can we perhaps get the commander the ability? Can we get the commander the ability to spawn on a rally and create his own rally?
Yeah, he can't hear you. Snazzy. He's talking, but he can't hear you.
He muted for whatever reason? Why? What?
Sansi, did you block him? Did you block him?
I did actually mute him. I'm sorry.
Cheers, Sansi.
You blocked him.
Nice snub, that is.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry, Stokes.
What'd you piss him off, Stokes? What'd you do?
I don't know, but I'm about to go and have duck for dinner. I'll tell you now.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
It's all right, man. Just the quick one was. In terms of as a compromise with the commander not getting a section, would it be possible to add in the ability for a commander to place his own rally down that he can use? Because that's probably the one use that a section really would be useful for the commander, is the ability to actually stay near the fighting, as opposed to having to either sit back in main looking at a map or rallying around in his jeep. because
Yes.
again, if we're talking
In
about
theory,
go on,
in
sorry.
theory, in theory, isn't he already allowed to place on rallies?
Nope.
Or no?
No,
No.
Nope.
We could. I'm sure we could definitely do something like that.
He used to be able
Oh,
to spawn on
please.
his Jeep about 12 months ago, but then all of a sudden it disappeared.
I mean, that's not entirely out of the question. I'm sure we can start at least a request about it. I'll bring it up on Monday.
May
And
I
I'll ask about it because
Mm.
that's definitely possible. Whether or not we'll do it anytime soon, I can't say. But I'm not saying no. Interesting idea.
may I
Yes.
since you said a platoon leader section would divert players from the infantry, how so? Isn't the platoon leader section not a regular infantry section with
Well,
more
what
features?
I mean is that if you have a platoon section of say 3 people, right? You have a medic and you have specialized radio man, right?
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
that's
now I get it.
that's additional people you're taking away from armored and logistics, right?
Yeah,
So we need to increase the player count in order to not compromise the other sections.
Well, maybe I'm mistaken, but aren't there some people like 2 or 3 just missing a section in a regular match because of the current tank solution we've got? Because in my mind and on regular matches, I think it would work with 2 people added to the platoon leader section.
Currently, there on a normal game of 80 players per side, there is 3 extra slots that won't. If you filled up 3 sections of 9, you filled up the commander, and you filled up 2 full tank sections. There's still 3 players, and that would be stranded in a random 3 out of 9 squad.
Yeah,
That's where it would be currently.
Then I would definitely look into it. I will definitely bring it up then. I don't think it's unreasonable, but we that's just what I kind of avoid is potentially. Well, coding time, it shouldn't take long because it's just imitating a regular section, right? I mean, in theory, it's not that hard. I don't want to say that, but in theory, but I'll definitely bring it up on Monday. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'll bring it up tomorrow
Awesome,
once
thanks.
we have our meeting, and I'll mention that fact. So let's move on here. And this one is a touchy one. I'm sorry. Also, this meeting is getting a tad longer than I expected it to. So I'm gonna try and hurry through this. So, why have the devs limited us to 80 player servers? Was there likely to be a point we can 100 player servers? So this one is controversial. I know it is. We'd like to increase the player count once we're certain that we have a stable and very optimized state of the game. It's not just about how well your server runs. It's not about how well the game runs. How does the game cope with those extra people? How does the players cope with those extra people? It's not just about how the server runs. It's a delicate balance between performance, visuals, and feature quantity. Because keep in mind that if we increase the player count at the moment, something else will have to be sacrificed in the process somewhere, and it's not an easy decision. And it could potentially alienate a large part of the player base if we do it, because some people won't be able to play on 100-man servers. Pure performance wise. So if we can make the game run as we want, yeah, definitely. Not until then though. Will the SDK give us the ability to create additional content, or will we be hamstrung in regards to what we can change and manipulate with? The best answer is to look into the squad SDK and look how it works. Plenty of freedom to create a modified, with the exception of coding, because you don't have any source code access, i.e. you can't create and modify the base code. That's the only limit you have. And we'll look into SDK sometime after chapter 3. It'll come with the implementation of structure, documentation, all that stuff. We're not taking this challenge lightly at all. It's one of the reasons why it's taken so long, because we need to cooperate with the Offworld about support for the system. But we're looking just as much forward to releasing as you are, and we're constantly, checking, we were constantly checking the modding discussions and the modding stuff going on to see what you guys are getting up to. and we've even discussed with some of the modders privately. So we're looking forward to creating the platform with you, so you have the platform you deserve to modify, create, grow, and modify the game as you please. So there you go. On the new territory control game mode, will factions still be limited to 2 farms, or will we be able to lock down areas of the map with multiple farms like in Squad? Territory control is, like we said, still under development and is being redesigned constantly. The only thing we can reveal at the moment is that we'd like to do something at least slightly different from what Squad does. So we want to do it with our own twist. We can't say much more than that, though. Will we ever be able to add tickets to a server for the sake of custom events and such? We already get ad time. Possibly only when Sandbox game comes out. So for the base game, no. We won't add the ability to add more tickets to base game. But we'll be able to do so for Sandbox, I'm sure. And
does that mean as the game is live in a sandbox game mode, you can add tickets while you're not the ability to add, say, oh, I want 1,000 tickets and let's create a server now or map in the game while it's going on, increase the ticket count?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would expect so. Otherwise, there wouldn't really be a reason to have it. If you'd had to change your map or whatever. It's kind of nice you can change it on the fly, isn't it?
Sure.
And here's a big one. Oh boy, I don't know who did this one, but this one's the big one. Probably the biggest question. We've been teased with Sandbox and SDK since release. That's nearly 2 years ago. We've spoken about them often, yet we always get delayed, pushed back until after update XX, Chapter X. Just where do they sit on that long priority list? Are we like to see them in the next 6 months? What are the reasons we have been pushed back this long? Just so we can gauge whether or not to get excited or lower our expectations. All the major features in the roadmap are being narrowed down over time to what's coming out regularly. Both the SDK and Sandbox are coming out after Chapter 3 release. The same goes for territory control. Like any sane developer, we don't give the release dates or completion times to content that might only shoot us in the foot, but also disappoint you guys. Like, we don't want to promise Sandbox by a specific date because we don't know how much work it encompasses. And we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by doing so. I would say 6 months is a bit of a pessimistic scenario. After Chapter 3 comes out, we will look into territory control, then Sandbox, and then the SDK.
You give us a little snapshot on that, percentage-wise. How far do you think it's come along from what you've seen?
Which one?
The SDK. You give us a little snippet earlier.
In theory, it should be almost done because last time we heard we were just kind of waiting for the approval from Epic. So it should be done. I guess it just needs to be updated to 4.2.1 and fixed up, and then it should be ready to release. So it's not like something that's going to, I guess, take a whole overly long time. But I don't know exactly how far they're with it because I don't see how far they are with it. I just know that last we heard it was quite clear, quite near completion. Where it's at now with 4.2.1 and all, I'm not sure. It might need to be updated and stuff, which takes a little while. That takes a little while. And the reason why it's been postponed a lot with the engine upgrade, the reason why we postponed, the SDK, Sandbox, and all that is the engine upgrade to 4.2.1, which took 6 months to undertake. Keep that in mind. It took us 6 months, more or less. Or to be more precise, Unreal Engine plus the OWI core. We thought, that was the most critical goal of last year. And we added content ever since. We've been pumping out content ever since. It's been full steam on. And with 4.2.1 out and a lot of Chapter 2 content just lying around, it kind of became obvious for us, what needed to be released after 4.2.1, right? Chapter 3 is just around the corner to keep the momentum going as we want to establish our main goal of increasing the player base as well as making, continuous small quality of life updates. Like I said before, we're working a lot on, content and quality of life stuff to kind of keep the game, retaining. Because at the end of the day, keep in mind, Postscriptum is almost 2 years old now.
Yeah.
Our 2 years anniversary is almost coming up, which is a long time for a video game. Once that's established, we'll start, we'll proceed with the rest of the major features that I'll have to do. But I think it's fair to say that all those combined free will possibly take a few months. But it's sensible to say at the pace that we're going now, you won't have to wait until the end of the year to see all of them materialized in the game. Again, never underestimate how plans can go awfully wrong for us. The upgrade to 4.21 was supposed to take 1 or 2 months, and yet 6 months it took plus for us to do it. So yeah, there you go. SDK, where do devs get the weapon sounds? There's an approximate date for the release. Most of our sounds come either from the OWI core, or we get them in professional libraries. A few of the sounds are recorded by the team itself. And like the last question, the SDK will be coming out sometime after chapter 3. So yeah, there you go. Will the allied armor get its identity being lighter and more maneuverable back? The speed nerfs have been far too drastic. We're not expecting tanks like the Cromwell to go head on head with the Tiger. So essentially, the speed. Most of our tanks are based on historical documents, but we have taken some liberties to make changes for the sake of balancing. That has to be said. We've already fixed several vehicles in the past with wrong speeds and gun and all that kind of stuff, and it's a matter of priority. I'm sure it's mentioned, and if it isn't already, it will be added, especially with the Cromwell and stuff. So I hope that's a good answer. Then comes a question about Cromwell smoking. That is a legacy thing. Before we had the damage system we had before, we just had a simple smoking system where the more damage you took, the more smoke your vehicle would create. And that system, I guess, is still retained in some of it is still in the Cromwell system. There's no fire damage. Someone asked in the same question about if fire damage. There's no such thing as fire damage. It's just a particle effect. It doesn't do any damage to anything. What is the timeline on a range map? This is one of the things that are on a long list of priorities, but we have other things that require more immediate attention from our team. But I will make sure it is being raised in priority. So we're hopefully going to get the range sooner.
Follow-up question to that.
Hmm?
Will we get all tanks in schematic view like we did in the past on the new
Yeah, we
range?
we had some original ideas for how we wanted to do that. I'll bring it up because I think they had some initial ideas about how they wanted to do that whole system.
Yeah, currently on the training map there are only, I guess, like 3 German tanks, a couple of light vehicles, and that's it for the weak points. So that's kind of imbalanced.
Yeah, so I'll bring it up as well as one of the things, and I'll try and get you a response for it.
Yeah, copy, thanks.
Here's a question from our wonderful Expendable. Can you send players IP information with other information like Steam ID 64 score, etc., so we can ban recurring troublemakers by IP? Now, we're not going to offer an IP ban solution for Proscriptum. I'm going to say that straight out of the box. And the reason for that is that a Steam ID 64 ban is more effective. It's superior in every way to an IP ban. IP bans are less effective to a Steam ID ban, since the Steam ID will follow your account regardless of where you are, hardware, network, whatever. An IP ban does not. And it's super easy to circumvent an IP ban too. For the current problem with Steam account sharing, it's a matter of just disabling family sharing for Postscriptum. And that's a matter of reaching out to Offworld. Because it's not something we can do with a click of a button. We can do everything else but that. I don't know why. Ask Steam. So I'll talk to Ross from Offworld tomorrow about family sharing to see what it takes for us to get it disabled. And that should solve your problem of people creating new accounts and using account sharing.
May I add a question?
Yes.
To the other server hosts, is that really a big issue?
Apparently
we
so.
haven't seen banned players returning that regularly, if any.
Well, no, there's a bunch of them that do. Like I know on 40-1 they had a few, and I know on Easy we've had our rounds of them. It's
like I said, it's an easy solution. Like the IP solution is, I get what you want, but that's a complicated solution that might not work to a problem we can solve quite easily.
The easiest solution is just to disable the family sharing, and after the family sharing is disabled, then when you Steam ID them, ban them, then they just gotta go rebuy the game.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah, so my issue is mostly
and
about
to-
those
just-
people that rebuy the game.
Yeah, and just to expand on this, as far as people trying to circumvent bans, now I don't know what kind of scope and why they were banned, but I do want to point out that the abuse of that said family sharing system to circumvent bans, community bans or not, are in fact against policy. And from our side, if it's bad enough, we are allowed to issue permanent game bans to people who abuse the system. And it doesn't care what account you are using family sharing from. As soon as an account that's used family sharing gets banned with that system, it will ban you from being able to use family sharing in the future with that account for that game. Not like a VAC ban where it'll disable it completely. But there are stuff we can do. But the easiest thing, like I said, is just to disable family sharing, and it will go away on its own. And we can definitely do that because there's no reason to have family sharing on. If people want to play Postcom, go buy the game. So there you go. It's the same thing as Reshade. It only takes one person to run it for everyone. This is one of those cases. The next question: can you add Archon commands to force reload a config file such as map rotation? Again, this is one of those things that I'm not sure, or I'm sure with enough coding time we can do. But it requires a rewrite of how all the configs are currently loaded. So yes, we can add it. When is a completely different story, and I can't put a time frame on when we'll be able to do something like that, or if we will be able to do something like that, or will be doing something like that rather. So at the moment, no, it's not just something we can just materialize out of nowhere. We wish we could. Be cool. Not sure. I don't think I missed anything on here.
Let me check.
There's a new one from Hakaze. Can we get a server function for mixed player team?
Yeah, let me go check the list here because people added questions.
Yeah.
So let's see what more we have here. A lot of people added a bunch of questions, so I'm just go through this list here.
Voting system works. There is you just do map voting equals true in the server config. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. We did that and it didn't work.
Then I would reinstall your server because it does work. That's all you gotta do. When you install the server, you just go into server config, do map voting equal true, and then that's it. Then it works.
All right.
Yeah,
so
we have it coming up, but the thing is that people vote for a map and then it goes to something completely different.
Let me just answer Hakase's question here. Will we get a server function for mixed player teams? I don't think so. I mean, depends what you mean with a mixed server function. As in, you mean automatically, move just people randomly around?
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
I mean, in theory, sure. In terms of coding time, I don't know. I know what it would take to do that. If it's as simple as making a command, that'll just add and force switch random people around. But in theory, it's not that hard to do. But I can't speak on when we can do it, or even if we can. Let's see what else here. Will there be a forum for Periscope similar to what Squad has? Don't think so. I don't think we'll do a forum. Just because I think our preferred platform is Discord, and having to manage, another set of forums it's a lot of work for an arguably small team, because you got to remember at the end of the day, it's going to be down to a lot of us small people to do all this. So probably not. No. Team achievements. No. Maybe no. I don't know. I don't see why we would have team achievements. I mean, they don't really add that much into a game where there's not a lot of. I mean, we can, but I just don't see the viability of why.
And
other than the obligatory or mandatory bragging rights.
No, I just mean that in the way in Steam, I mean, because there's a lot of people who are asking some sort of like progression system for the game, and I think the like core like idea is not any type of like progression like that, but I would think that Steam achievement would be like an way in the middle, that it's not like promoting any self-display or anything like that in the game.
Yeah.
Can I just re-highlight, because there's several units and people here that agree with this, that random vehicles absolutely destroy balanced gameplay in clan environments. Will that be looked into? I know you want to have randomized for guys who aren't in a unit and just pick up and play the game whenever they can, but for the guys that play it week in, week out, planning is like, it's just impossible to plan with random vehicles.
If enough people want us to change that system, then yes, we'll change it. But will we do like a very specific game mode for like events? Probably not. I don't know if you're able to add any way of disabling it like on the fly either. But I mean, if not people or don't like the system, then it's not a problem for us to change it back. They just need to justify the reason or need to justify the change.
I've linked the photo in the questions that Wabbit posted, and there's 50 thumbs up on the situation.
And that was voiced to the team, and they've seen it. I voiced it a few weeks back to the team in a meeting, and ensured that they all saw that there was voice opinions about it, and we've talked about it. We just need to decide whether or not we'll actually change something. So we've seen it. And I just want to reiterate with feedback, especially the because that seems to be a topic right now about the feedback. Well, no, we read feedback. We do. We read it every day. I do anyway, and I know a lot of developers also read it on the daily. So we read your feedback. 100%.
But how can random be competitive? So that's completely not possible.
Exactly. And what we intend to change with that, I don't know. Maybe the tournament mode turns it on and off. I don't know. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, it would be great.
Well,
but
maybe
something we'll have to look into.
Well, maybe a temporary solution if it's easy to implement. I don't know.
Can I answer Wabbit's questions? I'll answer some of them, maybe. I mean, most of them are not really questions. They're requests of stuff he wants. Like, there's not really much for here to answer. Because I can't say what we can and can't do. Like, we can do everything on this list. Like, you gotta remember, we're not a mod. We can do whatever we want. In theory, we have the core. Like, we're not restricted by Offworld in any way. People seem to think that PostScriptum is restricted by Offworld, that we can't do certain things. We can do what we want. It's our game. We're just published by Offworld, but we can do whatever we want. It's just a matter of working with their system. That's the pain for us. And there was one thing I forgot to mention. Obviously, so it might not be something everyone likes. But since someone did mention, the third map of Chapter 2 before Chapter 3, Chapter 3 will come before the third map for Chapter 2. Confirmed. I'm just gonna put that out there so you're not disappointed.
Whoa! Will I have BEF on it?
The gasps.
Because when I initially got this question, I wasn't sure how I wanted to respond to this, but I voiced that we have to be honest about this for the better of everyone.
Is it a good idea?
So we're gonna come out here and just say it as is instead of having you be disappointed, a few months down the line or whatever. Yes, the Chapter 3 will be out before the third map for Chapter 2. The reason for this is some initial delays when we were making the third map. It got delayed a few times, and now it's at a point where it's not at a point where it's ready enough for us to release it. So yes, Chapter 3 will be out before Chapter 2.
No worries with Chapter 2.
So just so you don't get just so we don't have to answer this question later and people don't get disappointed. Now you know that this is
Yeah, that was something
and we
people
wanted to
brought up
trust
to
me.
me.
We wanted to have chapter deferred map for chapter 2 out before, but that's just not the reality for us because of some changes in early development last year. I can't go into details about what those changes were, but there were changes, and that meant that it's unfortunately been delayed a little bit. And so yes, it will come. Don't take that as we won't do chapter the deferred map. It will be there, and it will be absolutely glorious. You are going to love it because we have some really crazy cool ideas for that map.
Maybe not rushing the chapter 3 and
So
just
we're not rushing anything. We're not rushing anything. But the problem is that the map was delayed. Like the development of that map was delayed due to some issues last year. So we're not rushing anything. Like we're on the same schedule. Just that map was delayed. Like we're not rushing chapter 3 out. It's not that. It's just that one map never got to stage where we're finished. It was planned to be at the release for chapter 2, but it never got to that point. And so now it's kind of being delayed. It will be there, and you are going to love it because that just means that we can spend more time working on it to make it even better. And I've already seen kind of what the idea is, and I know what the idea for the map is, and it's cool. You're going to love it. So that's a little bit of hype there. But yeah, chapter 3 will be out before chapter 2, and the deferred map for chapter 2. So that's the honesty from the situation. That's just how it is, and I felt that was important to say. And I think that actually concludes my entire list of Q&A. So we're already going for almost 2 hours here. Some people might have to leave, but I'm going to answer a few more questions before I call it a night. So if you have any more questions, you just want to talk over a voice, I'll try and answer some of them as best as I can, or we can just talk shit. I don't care.
I've got something.
Sure.
Maybe a solution to the armored/transport system. Would it be easier to implement like say a selection of vehicles where the players can choose from? That would solve the competitive situation, and maybe on the regular maps as well.
Possibly.
Well, it's
it's not unrealistic. I mean,
it's
it's
in the
possible.
trainings map, so maybe it's easier to port that system over.
So it is. I won't say no, but I won't say yes because it kind of comes to what we kind of want with that game mode. I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, I'd be down for that. That works for me. I don't care.
Even if it's a random selection of the 3 that are brought in anyway, regardless, at least having the choice between a fast vehicle or a bloody slow one would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea at all. Don't get me wrong on that. It's just the time that it takes because yes, it is on the training range, but keep in mind a lot of the stuff on that training range was made very specifically for that range. That's also the reason why it's not in multiplayer, because there's a lot of scripted stuff on that training range that wouldn't work in multiplayer. It just wouldn't.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so that's why we haven't just released a multiplayer, because we need to make a multiplayer version of that map that works for you. Because if we were to toss that map into your environment, you'd have some really weird artifacts with the voiceover and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
the old one would be fine.
Yeah, just question about that. Why can't we just use the old one?
Because the old one, the old one is still 4.16. It was because you remember that when we released 4.21, there was an entirely new range with it.
Okay.
The old range doesn't really exist. It did exist very briefly, but it ran like dog shit. I'll be excuse my language, but it ran terrible. I mean, we were playing on it on solo on my I was on it on my i7 7700K, overclocked to 5 gigahertz, by the way, 1080 Ti, and I got 25 FPS, a whole 25 FPS because all the vehicles were spawned in. It took down in performance absolutely. So we need to do a version of the map where you can spawn into vehicle. So it'll be a combination of the range and one that works in multiplayer. We also need to revisit our range to make it more intuitive, more streamlined, because right now it's just kind of confusing. for everyone. I find it confusing to use. But yeah, it is coming. It's just a matter of having the time to do it.
Would it be difficult to update that map to the new engine?
The old one.
Yeah, could we use that one as it's like a kind of a band-aid for it until the new one gets updated?
I think
or
it's
is
easier
ready?
to just create a new one. Honestly, I think the work it takes to do the old one is vastly outcost what it takes to just copy the current one and just remove all the scripted stuff and just put in all the required stuff for a multiplayer server.
Yeah, I suppose you don't want to do the same
Cool.
job twice, basically.
Because there's a lot of issues going back to 4.16. A lot of code needs to be changed. A lot of code needs to be rewritten. Again, we want to involve the coders as little as we humanly can because they are crazy busy. We only have one coder, 1.5 coder.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Anyone else?
I'm
gonna enjoy my dessert here while we do this. Now that we're at the end.
I have one question. Do we gonna get terrain-based speeds for the vehicles in the future?
Oh, you mean
like in squad?
terrain affecting speed?
Yes.
We played with the idea initially, but I don't know if we're going to do it anymore. I keep mentioning it, but somehow they keep avoiding answering my question because I've mentioned this like continuously over the last few. If I go back and look at my meeting notes, I guarantee you like 7 or 8 of my meeting notes from 4.16 or 4.21 involves adding that system.
All right.
So I don't know.
Okay, yeah, understandable.
Based on the fact that they're not answering me, maybe.
All right.
Maybe. But I'll try and get an answer. I can't say for sure, but probably not anytime soon because it requires a lot of, again, coding work. So
yeah, understandable.
It might be one of those we want to. Have anything else? While I enjoy this wonderful dessert, my ice cream melted.
No, you
Otherwise,
can drink
we'll call the meeting in if there's nobody else. I just want to check if there's anyone else have any other questions. Check the chat here.
the obvious when
I
is
do have
chapter
one
3 coming
thing.
out?
The vehicle tents. Is there going to be any way to actually remove them? Because it's been a real hassle in the setting up of events.
What do you mean?
Okay, so once you place a vehicle tent, it can't be removed at all. You can't destroy it. You can't
dig it down?
it. You can't.
You
Nope,
can dig it
can't
down.
do
You have
anything
to
with
go
it.
to the center of the tent, and you have to position yourself just right. And when you right click with your shovel, it'll dig it down. But you got to
Oh, really?
right in the center of the
Yeah.
tent. It's very
winter.
It's not.
Winter.
Yeah.
Can you add that to the Trello?
Yeah,
Why
I'll
didn't
add
you
it.
tell
It's
us this
not.
winter? You
It's
should have
not
told us months
easy.
ago.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I get it.
And you
Easy.
don't know, like.
No,
but
one on
add
the
it-
event team knows. That's the first I've ever heard of it.
Add it to the Trello because it
Yeah.
should definitely be something to dig down a little easier.
Yeah, because we've had a few people accidentally place them up in the air, and there's no way to remove them. Like yesterday, apparently it happened, and they basically had to restart the whole map all over again and throw away a few hours of work.
Yeah, no, that's a bit
So, but
unfortunate.
knowing that,
Yeah.
that's
I'll Winter's gonna put it on the Trello. So
Done. It's
so
there.
hopefully we'll get it fixed sometime soon, TM.
sweet. Thanks.
Well, I bet it has been asked in feedback multiple times. AT
Sure.
gun, vehicle tents, a possibility or a strict no?
I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no. I mean,
First,
you can.
the bug with the towing of the AT gun
Yeah,
needs to be fixed first.
First, we need to see towing for me and for Postscriptum has always been a bit of a touchy subject, literally. Because either the trailer falls off too easily or it sticks too hard. Like Winter caught a bug where the trailer would cause the truck driving it to blow up.
Oh yeah.
Here. I'll post it in there. You guys would like this one.
I've seen that.
I've
you
seen
guys
it
would
live.
like this
Yeah.
one.
What?
I mean, so we need to strike a good balance between, for something that works and something that's viable. And currently we haven't really struck that point where the AT guns are as useful as we like them to. It's the same reason why the big 88 will never ever come to postscriptum. And I will say it won't come to postscriptum.
Damn.
We'd like to, but A, it's going to be overpowered as all shit. And B, making that thing towable is going to be a pain.
Slow hauling.
Yeah, if you guys watch that video, you guys would laugh your asses off of.
Yeah, I see.
So I'll definitely I'll definitely say that. Actually, I had a little thing I wanted to mention. I think it was Hakaze who reported a potential cheater. If any of you others see any of this suspicious behavior in your servers, make sure to report it. I approached Awful about it, and I have now gotten access to our ECN cheat panel, so I can actually issue bans and send bans towards EAC now. So we'll be able to do our own bans and not just rely on EAC doing its own thing. Although it does its job very well. So I will say that it does its job very well. So if you catch these cheaters, catch the evidence, put them in the troubled players category, or send them to me in a personal DM. I don't care either way, and we can definitely get it reviewed, because I'm not going to defend the fact that there's probably cheaters in postscriptum. The extent of which I don't know, but I'm sure they're there. So if you catch them, you know what to do.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. I mean, we're way over time.
Oh yeah, way over time.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's fine, because as long as everyone's, because I don't want to do these too often, to where it's a bother. But as long as everyone feels like they've been answered, they've got their questions answered, and as long as everyone feels heard, that's important, because we want to ensure that everyone in here are being heard, that we're kind of having like a real discussion, not just us telling you very vaguely what will happen. Like, we want to give you as much information as you can have for the better of you guys. And we're going to continue to work towards that. But yeah, if there's no other questions, then I think we can wrap this one up. We are like 2 hours over time.
I've got another one.
Yes.
With the new duck feature for the SDK that 222 be implemented to other tanks as well.
The what?
The ducking feature.
Oh.
You've got,
Quack.
or the lean feature, however you want to call it.
The
Will
low
it be,
turnout.
will it be added to other tanks?
Yes.
Yes. At some point it will. It was kind of a test for us to see how well it would work. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do it in the future for other vehicles as well. But it's I know on our Trello we have a board for being able to duck in, for example, the half tracks, the American and German half tracks. Being able to duck down behind the shield to save yourself from being shot in the face. Those kind of things. Being able to look out of your half track, that kind of thing. So it was kind of an experiment to see how well it would work for us, that kind of system. And yeah.
Head says angrily typing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, at least we can say that at least hold stuff isn't here this time.
Are we free? I guess we are, to share that outside of this little community.
All of this?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once Nancy posts the recording, it'd be easier just to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in here. I'll post all the Q&A stuff. I'll post that as a post in somewhere in one of these channels.
Yeah.
As well on text. But I mean, there's nothing in here that's confidential.
Okay.
So all of this is just open.
So it's fine to post it on YouTube with the public flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Just be mindful of if it has names and stuff, just be mindful of privacy.
No. Of course not.
But yeah, you're welcome to share it around if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I've got my translation already up and running. So,
so that is all good. There's nothing here that's confidential anyway. I mean, we want to be as straight and as honest as we can, within reason. There's obviously stuff we haven't said, and I know we might not be as honest as you could be when we've been a little bit vague, but that's on purpose because we don't want to promise too much too early.
Understandable.
So we hope you understand that.
Reasonable.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't think there's much else. Not this time, not for me. If there's any more questions, I'll happily answer more questions. I mean, it's already 10, and I'm going to bed after this anyway. So,
I wish you all a good night.
Chance to test my new microphone that I keep bumping.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Bumping this thing.
Just gonna say that this was a very quality community meeting over here. A lot of questions were answered from my part at least, and I really highly appreciate of your time to telling all those pages what you had over there, and it was a very very.
It's like fucking 10 pages and 5,000 words of just stuff to talk about. Moo.
Hello. I highly appreciate on that part.
Yeah, and like I said, we want to aim to do these every half a year, and that was also the reason why I had to set a cutoff period for the questions, because otherwise, there's just too many questions. So we had 30 questions when I cut them off, and
through some of them,
I told you we got the questions answered for you, all of them, and it wasn't just a yes or no. The highlight of which was probably the flamethrower one. That one was really exciting.
Yeah, thanks for answering that one.
Because now I'm kind of giggly. I want a flamethrower. So
bad. Tell me about it.
Give me my Flammenwerfer. I want.
That'd be great to have a crack sharpen and stuff too.
I want it. I want it
now. No, obviously the next.
I'm sorry, but I just see that whole Saving Private Ryan moment when that guy steps in front of the bunker and just lights that sucker up and watches them all jump out. I love that. It was freaking awesome.
I just came. I have a question. Are there gonna be flamethrowers?
That's gonna be a big maybe.
Yes, Hans.
We're not saying no. Hans, get the Flammenwerfer.
It wells Flammen.
That's gonna be. And you betcha, we're gonna be adding proper death screams.
So the obvious follow-up question will be: will we get flame tanks?
I promise you, people will scream and cry in agony. I promise you, this will be immersive.
I love you guys so much.
My immersion.
Yeah, I mean, Day of Infamy mod, which had screaming to the flamethrower kills.
I mean, we have we have the whole we shared with you a few days ago where we had the whole new animations for the eyes and stuff, the blinking and stuff, and the new death stuff. I mean, now you have instead of just staring blankly, now when Hans dies, his eyes will roll up into his skull. All it needs now is a little bit of subtle blood out of his mouth and just a gurgling, and it'll be pure PTSD as he gives up. Ooh.
Renaming in Chapter 3 confirmed. PTSD simulator.
Yo, would we get flame tanks by chance?
I mean, if we said flamethrowers, then it wouldn't be
obviously
it wouldn't be out of the question to add flame tanks.
German halfback with flamethrowers.
Can you say Chabi one Flammenwerfer? Flammenpanzer? Flammenpanzer Hetzer?
Flammentiger.
Just imagine arm him with flame tanks.
Now I'm waiting for that one guy to ask, where's the Storm Tiger? Where's the Churchill Avery? Where's the King Tiger?
Where's my homie?
No.
Where's Bertha?
Where's the KV2?
Where's Brazo? He's in India. I think.
Yeah, you uploaded a video today.
Oh, yeah.
Was somebody recording this?
Yes.
Yes.
I have it all recorded. All 2 hours of it.
Okay.
Same.
And I'm going to mute everyone else except my own voice.
Yeah, how you should. We're
as
just
it should
talking
be.
bullshit as always. So
I'm going to be talking to nothing. But yeah, I'm
Answering your own
fine
questions
with
that
just
go
with
through
just
your
keeping.
mind.
I
I
would
mean,
be
I'm fine. I'm
really,
fine with just sitting here answering questions.
be
I mean,
really eager to
throw
hear more.
them at me. Throw them at me. It's a good chance for me to test out this microphone. So
Yeah,
by,
sure.
by all means, it's good.
Are you guys looking for any volunteers, or would you be open to accepting volunteers to help you guys?
Depends what you mean volunteer.
Coders.
Tester? Testers
Coders.
or coders? Probably not, because there's a whole thing with non-disclosure agreements, and the whole bit the whole shadoodle. So probably not. I mean, we are
I was happy to start my life away.
We are looking for developers. I think.
Is there any chance that there's gonna be chapter 5?
I mean, we need
Soviets.
we need a new sound designer.
What?
We need a new sound designer.
Really?
Yeah. We need a sound designer.
Where's the old one? I mean, he's doing.
Scrub.
Yeah.
He left.
Really?
What? He left at the end of January, I think.
He did very good job.
He did.
Yeah.
He also finished chapter 3 before he left, so don't worry about that. You covered. We got
Okay,
you
that was nice from him.
So we got you covered. He finished all of the stuff.
That's shame.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, chapter 3 is gonna be dope.
Is it going to be before
the third
May?
map for chapter 2? Yes. Yes, it will. I already answered this question, but you weren't here. Chapter 3 will be up before the third map for chapter 2. Yes. That is confirmed.
Question was in May. Before
What? What'd you say?
chapter 3 before May arrives.
I can't say when, because I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on testing, and how long it'll take us to finish everything else that needs to be done. I mean, the trailer's looking good.
Have you tried the Fallschirmjäger? Or did you see some other videos? What was the feel?
What do you mean?
Fallschirmjäger.
Yeah, what about that?
MT42.
It sounds good. It sounds really good.
Does it handle well?
It handles okay. It sounds good. I mean, I don't care about anything else other than the sound. I mean, I'm not a terrible shot. I'll hit things regardless of how much it shakes.
Regarding FG42, is it deployable with the bipods?
I think it'll be deployable with a bipod, but it won't have the bayonet on it.
All right.
Because we can't have both because they share the same system.
Is it with optics or without optics?
Without.
Good.
I've got another question that a lot of people talk about: will foxholes ever be a thing?
Dug down foxholes? No, because
as in just for people to sort of hide
because we won't be able to do terrain modifications live. We might be able to do like an above like the squad project real or the project reality, a school above ground pits, possibly. But I mean, there's no reason to have them because you already have all the walls and stuff.
Yeah, sandbags and stuff.
And so it wouldn't really make much sense to have the foxholes.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Just thought I'd ask, since that was one thing that I just remember that a lot of people
we'd
ask about.
We'd like to, but we can't do terrain modification.
Yeah, being the terrain, you can't really put people through it, I guess, and change it.
I mean,
cool.
I mean, if you looked on the map how we play stuff, I mean, you can see we're cheating.
Oh, I've been under the map, so I see how you play stuff. Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
We
really good.
It is believable, but we cheat. You wouldn't know.
Is there going to be Yak Panther in chapter 3? The TD German.
Not sure. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Sorry, guys. I have to left. Thank you, Snazzy, for the question.
You are very welcome. Thank you for coming. And thank you for coming instead of Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil has the new baby. The baby, so it's a little bit hard to.
Oh yeah, I definitely appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. See you.
See ya.
See you around. Have a nice
Bye.
day.
Do we have any more fancy, funny questions?
I've got a fancy
for
question.
for the duck. It doesn't have to be about postscriptum.
Well,
It could also be about me. I mean, I'm boring, but
How was your day so far?
How are you doing?
pretty good. Thank you.
What did you have for lunch?
I can't actually remember.
Oh my god.
What did you have for dinner? I mean, you ate it just a second ago.
No, that's my dessert. But what we have for dinner, I just regular bread. I couldn't actually bother to make dinner.
Fair enough.
Besides, it was my day to make dinner, and I couldn't be bothered to actually make dinner.
Oh, I have one. Where's second Fasimjäger? It was it was in the postscriptum when it started, but now it's nowhere. What happened?
It's dead
Why?
because it's terrible.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Because the clan. I mean, no. So let me. I'm actually just gonna end the recording here because this doesn't need to be on file here.
Oh, huh.
This does not need to be on file.
Okay.
So, second Fasimjäger. Amazing clan.
Yes.
But the clan leader Deedle, he can suck a fat willy.
Oh, okay.
He is no. So for those who don't know, I used to be 2FGG Fasimjäger. I used to be their server guy. I used to be, the co-leader of the clan and everything. But then I left, and the primary reason why I left was the clan became very inactive. Like people weren't taking charge in seeding. Like they weren't like you could make a message saying I'm going to be seeding today, and then nobody would come on the seed. Like nobody ever came on and helped. And that just kind of got to me, and I ended up leaving. Following my leave, Deedle decided that would be a brilliant idea to start getting very angry with me, blaming me for everything wrong with the clan.
I see.
And yeah, one thing led to another, and a whole bunch of people followed my lead because people like me, and they also left the clan, including 2 40-1 members, or now 4-1 members, Sorny and Osmano. They left and joined them instead, which was probably a better choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah, no.
Yeah, because you guys were very in squad. I really first met that clan in squad
Mhm.
to the first place,
And then
yeah.
and then a huge internal clan drama happened.
Okay, all right, I
And
see.
and a lot of people left the clan.
I see.
And a new community called 56 Canadian was created from ex-2FGG members, and a lot of their players were ex-2FGG players who used to play on our service. And so our squad side just kind of died after that.
Yeah, I was just wondering where the heck they went. That was just
Following
my...
that, we ended up in postscriptum. We did postscriptum for a while.
Yeah.
I was very invested in postscriptum. But people started becoming active. Like last time, people weren't doing stuff. Deedle was becoming increasingly more hostile towards our team, going as far as calling our at the time lead admin or lead MP or MPCO Alex, a baby and crybaby because he didn't agree with what she thought, and the opinion it caused her and a bunch of other people to leave, and then it just kind of all spiraled out of control, and then shortly after that people started leaving left and right, and I ended up leaving not long after that as well. And 2FG just kind of went downhill from there, and I think now they don't even have any of their dedicated servers anymore. They just have Hella Loose, and that's it. The clan has had a downhill experience since then, and like I said, after that, I had a bad run-in with Deedle, where he essentially tried to accuse me of being what is wrong with the entire clan, essentially. And that's why I said he can suck a fat willy, because I don't like him anymore.
Nazi?
Yes.
I just got a question from my clan. Can I ask or start?
Yeah, it's not recorded, but you can. It's not recorded, but you can ask anyway.
Okay. One of my guys asked if there's gonna be East Front in future, maybe in 1 year.
We can't. I can't I'm going to go back and reiterate one of my older questions because it's one of the. Are we going to add more exotic chapters or whatever to Postscriptum? And we have ideas for what we want to do next, but we haven't actually made any plans for it because it kind of depends on chapter 3 and stuff. So I won't say what or when we're going. I mean, but we have ideas, but until we've seen what chapter 3 does for Postscriptum, it's uncertain. If chapter 3, which we expect will do much better than chapter 2 does, then yes, very likely. If not, then we're not sure.
Are there going to be more than 5 maps in chapter 3? Or 5 maps?
I think there'll be 3 maps. I can't remember. I can't remember, and I can't say for certain how many maps we're doing.
I guess there's gonna be at least 1 beach, and then 1 city, and then something else.
Yes, for sure. There'll definitely be I mean, if you can't tell it's a beach, then
well,
then you should look at a pair of glasses maybe. I would recommend a pair of glasses.
I'm still a cows.
But yes, no. In terms of what we'll get, I don't know.
I have kind of a random question, really quickly.
How much
would it be possible to get local, where you can hear the enemy local chat? And get that
Is
as
it possible?
Yeah.
Yes. Will we do it? No. That's a hard
Would
no.
you guys? Is that a hard no? Or would you be open to having like a server setting that switches it up?
That's a hard no because Postscriptum is built upon communication, and the problem with allowing two-way communication is that it encourages people to use external platforms. It encourages people to not use what we've already put in place for them.
I have a really good question that I've wanted to ask like 2 months ago. As a server host, let's say we want to do a simulator event. Is there going to be in the future a console prompt that you're just gonna type please hide hot and stuff, so you're not allowed to see everyone's nicknames, even allies, nothing, just uniforms and your weapon, that's it, nothing else?
In theory, I don't know if it works in practice. In theory, you should already be able to do that with tournament mode.
How?
By enabling tournament mode and setting up the restrictions for tournament mode, because the tournament mode is just based on your game settings. And in theory, it should work with the HUD opacity.
I have a question regarding tournament mode.
Yeah. Don't answer too. I can't promise I can answer it because it's not ours.
Yeah, I know about that. But since some commands over there, I have tested that in my own server, and the basic things work without any issues. I was the one few which tested that thing and like reported that it works. But some commands, I think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but maybe modified by the Periscope games example. The basic commands from Unreal Engine 4 regarding gamma and things like that don't work in that setting. So are they are some of the commands have some unique type of values?
I don't think they do. I think
okay.
Most of the tournament commands and most of the in-game settings are like Unreal default. Like they're not specific to Postscriptum.
Okay.
Actually, they should in theory work, but since tournament mode isn't a default thing in Unreal Engine, some stuff might not work. Like for example, the HUD and the gamma stuff, it might not work.
Yeah, because that was what I was trying to get a fix on. Example on Stone 02, that it's night map, and I wanted to restrict that the gamma should be on 2.1 with the squad competitive settings example like that, and it wasn't working. So I was wondering are there specific commands for the PG what they use inside the game, or is it just I'm not knowing what they should be in terms of Unreal Engine 4?
In theory, it should be the same as it has the same format as it does in the game user settings for your settings under your your local files and stuff. You have the game user settings. The command for gamma in there should be the same.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I tried that, but it didn't work at all. That's why I'm asking that. Is there some like?
No, so it might not be supported then.
Okay, yeah,
but,
that answers.
But I think what we might end up doing later down the line, as one of the polish items, is set the same gamma restrictions as squad, where you can't modify your gamma after you get into a game. That way, at least it's limiting the issue. I mean, gamma will always be that kind of thing. You can't ever solve it because I could just turn out the gamma on my monitor. Like 95% of all monitors now support gamma, or external software rather.
I mean, I was just meaning about I was using the commands from the config menu, from like
No, if it doesn't work straight, then probably no, it's probably disabled or it's not coded to work.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know. Did I send you the GitHub link?
Snazzy.
Yes.
So what should
let me just answer him first here.
Yes.
Did I send you the GitHub link?
No, I haven't got any links at the moment.
Remind me after this, and I'll send you a link to a site where every single restriction for the tournament mode is listed. There's a GitHub where someone listed all the squad restrictions. One of them might have the gamma thing, and that might work for you. But just send me a message and remind me about it. I'll
of course.
What do you say, mooing?
Moo.
Get the cow out of here.
No.
Excuse me? Did you just call me a cow? How rude. See, this is the guy I work with. How rude.
Yeah, well, your choice.
So the question was, what should I type inside the admin's config to enable to completely disable the HUD?
What? There's nothing in the admin config. You have to do it client side.
In client, client side, there's a command called enable HUD widgets.
Yes.
Disable.
You have to run that. There is nothing for the admin. There's no like config setting you can do. I can verify that one. You have to do it all client side. Every client will have to do it if you wanted it.
And it depends on what you want to remove too.
Yep.
Because the HUD widget will disable the HUD for you.
Just wanted to have real simulator where you don't know.
If you want the real simulator experience, turn your opacity for the name stuff, turn it all the way down, and then use the enable HUD widget, and turn it off.
And then watch as your teammates complain that you TK'd them.
I've only done that. I've only done that twice, and I've had one.
I'm just saying. Wait, that's just asking to get kicked from your server.
Wait for the auto kick to kick in. Yeah.
I am the admin.
That's gonna be happening.
That's the best way for you to do that thing. I mean, we try to make as minimalistic a HUD as possible, but we don't want to make it too bad because otherwise, TK.
I mean, there's already complaints. Yeah, there are already complaints of TK because look, you go into a bush and the icon disappears because of a bug. So it's like, what are you gonna do? I mean, there's already people complaining about that.
A bug? I thought it's working as intended.
To be honest, the animations are pretty self-forward regarding the animations. The Germans run with the weapons in one hand and the allies with like weapons in two hands. It's very easy to determine distance that which is allies and which is Axis forces. So in my opinion, it's not really a TK issue. It's about, player being new.
Are you still recording, Snazzy, or is it still...
No, this is
okay, you ended it.
This is off the grid.
Okay.
Off the grid. So here's another one, because I know someone at some point will bring it up. I know they will. Where's where's my swastikas at? Where's my uncensored version at?
Oh, that's never gonna happen.
I was going to ask about that.
I knew you were. I knew someone was gonna ask, and let me give you the answer.
Never gonna happen.
I saw that forum post about that.
Yes, and let me give you the answer, because Winter is being a bit disingenuous here. He needs to shut up. So in
duct tape.
Thunder stolen.
Just reiterate the former post. In September of 2019, we sent our postscriptum title to the USK for review. Yes, it is true that the German law now allows video games to have uncensored video games. There's a but though. They still need to be accepted and approved by the German ratings board, the USK, essentially the ESRB or PEGI of Germany.
Yeah.
They have to accept it. We can't just put it in a game and just release it.
And good luck on getting that accepted anytime soon.
People seem to misunderstand this law quite extensively.
Tell me about it.
And yes, we did send it in, and we did get it reviewed. That review was denied, and essentially, the law was too new, and they didn't want to accept the game yet. So, I mean, we could send it in again and maybe have a better chance of getting it approved. But I guess with the gore and stuff.
Well, the gore isn't the issue. The main issue for them is that you
It's
can
unconstitutional stuff here.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can roleplay as a Nazi.
Yeah, that's their main complaint.
So I mean,
If it would be Allied sided
go through the review process again? We might. But I mean, for us, we don't care all that much about the icons. I know some people care a lot about the icons. I don't know why you care so much about the icons, but some people do care a lot about the icons. And then they're like, well, why don't you just do the censored uncensored version? That was the idea. It was the idea. But then we realized how much time it would take for us to essentially recode our entire server client or entire server code for Squad to accept two different versions of the game based on where you were. And the time and effort it takes to create that vastly, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it for the swastikas. I mean,
and to be honest, in a real match, you can't see it anyway.
Plus, we'd have to manage both of those versions to ensure that swastikas doesn't end up in the wrong version of the game.
I was going to ask about that because I saw your forum post regarding that you had a planning about two different versions of the games, that those who have the restrictions, those who have like restrictions about those laws will be censored, and those who don't will be uncensored ones.
But the server code to accept that, we need to rewrite the entire server code, and it's not worth it. It's just not.
Yeah,
just not worth the time and effort it takes to create it. So it's either all or nothing, in my opinion. And I mean, I don't care. I mean, the ego is enough. I mean, I don't need to sue the swastika to know that I'm a Nazi.
I mean, you partially answered for that question regarding turning that thing on or off regarding the modification things. What you said, it's kind of answered in my question, but I was going to ask about this.
We were playing it safe.
Yeah, understandable.
You have a question.
3 new questions from clans members. So the first question is, do you have somewhere a PayPal account for people to send you money to support? I mean, not use Nessie, but Devil.
I mean, you can get my PayPal.
Yeah, well, I love our guys to do that too, to support you guys.
So, do you have somewhere PayPal account to send?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay, can you ask?
Just do it.
Guys, to do it.
We want to pay you. Take our money.
You please make us pay for chapter 3. Please make us.
You could hire another coder.
You've already paid for chat. Well, we can hire a new coder. I mean, I'll be honest here. I mean, chapter 2 sold really, really well for us.
Yes.
The last 3 months have been super profitable for us. So we're not in need of money. Like we're not going bankrupt here.
I mean, Raisa said that on the last stream. What he said that you guys are well enough in the money wise.
We just don't want to spend the extra money on hiring a coder that might only be here for a very short time. Because the time it takes to get that coder into all the systems and stuff, it takes a while to get a coder set up. So we can definitely have more coder, and we do have another coder, Striker, but he's the guy who did the 4.2.1, and he needed a bit of a break, so he's been offloaded a little bit. So he That's why we won't have one coder. Normally we have 2 coders. But Striker is a bit overloaded with a.
Yeah, but we need more stable map.
Question number 2.
Mhm.
What role is gonna have the FG42, or is it gonna be a standalone role?
I have no clue.
Okay. Third question. Is there a plan in near future to get rid of the hit point systems in vehicles and have it some other system of hit points? But
We'll never ever get rid of the hit point system. I mean, here's the reality: you won't ever find a game that doesn't have a hit point system. And I'll wait. I'll happily wait for you to find one. But even games like Steel Beast, which is a tank simulator, has hit points. I mean, you won't find a game that doesn't have hit points. The question is just how good are we at hiding said hit points?
Understandable.
And we need to we want to expand on the armored, but we'll never ever get rid of a hit point because you can't get rid of the hit points. That's just not a thing. I mean, look at simulator games. Whether you want it or not, they have hit points. I don't care. I don't care what game it is. They have hit points. IL2, they have hit points. DCS, hit points. Because they have a percent of damage. They have a hit point system as well.
I have one question.
Yes?
Regarding the commander, could there be any implementation about voice priority? Example, like commander would suppress all the squad communications which goes through him and voice his opinion about we need to attack here and attack there.
Maybe it depends. Not everyone wants that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Not everyone. That's why we have the system where you can adjust, your squad and your comms based on your preferences, because not everyone wants, to hear the commander talk.
I mean,
maybe your squad is more important than your command. I mean, for me personally, I tend to turn down, and I'm sorry for all the other squad leaders out there. I tend to turn down my squad and command chat, or my command chat down almost all the way.
Yeah,
because the last thing I want to hear is squad leaders bickering when I want to try and talk to my own squad.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that it can be abused, that only the commander attacks and everybody else is suppressed. But in a popping wise, example, sometimes
I think the use of that is very, very, very limited. Not enough to where it warrants actually adding it.
It's Nazi. Hey, thanks. Just saying thanks really quickly. I gotta go. So
you have a good one. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, me too.
See you guys.
Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
I have a question. Are you gonna turn down the volume for the music when you start?
The volume is based on your own sound music or your own audio.
Okay.
So if you want to turn down, if you want to turn down, just turn down your music settings and
follow up
based on the same thing.
One of the tanker guys asked if you're gonna fix that when people jump up on the tank, they're gonna stay on the tank when the tank drives.
What do you mean, fix it?
Well, allow it somehow. That when
you mean
people
tank
jump
riding?
on the tank and
I mean, it's already sort of possible.
Well, people fall down when it goes.
Sometimes they do. It's kind of a mess. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we can perfect it. I mean, it's not intentional. I mean, the fact you can stand on top of a tank is just a happy feature.
But it's really cool when you have, say, 8 people on a tank.
But it's not realistic.
Well,
not the way you're standing.
The movies beg to differ.
not the way you're standing on top of your tank. As your tank.
It'd be cool to have a sitting feature where they could use it as a transport, though.
Yes, I mean, that's more plausible.
That would be
it seats,
sitting feature.
But I'm not sure how viable that is in grand scheme of things.
Write it down somewhere in the notes.
So
cool.
Well, since you mentioned,
I'll definitely post it as feedback as well, if you haven't already.
Yeah, I think it's all over. Passenger seats for tanks is a
it's a
brought
big
up
need.
feature in
Yeah,
feedback.
that's like once every few days.
Where's
Yeah.
gonna be the talk uploaded? Where are you gonna post it?
Probably tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and where to the?
I'll probably just upload it to
friends?
I'll probably just upload it to SoundCloud, and I'll share the link in one of the channels here. Probably chat one. I'll probably pin it.
Okay, good.
And
Since
yes,
you
you can
mentioned,
share it.
say again.
And yes, you can share it.
Okay, another one of my guys asked, is there any chance that there's gonna be, let's say, Pacific team, Japan, US, something like that?
I will reiterate my response from earlier. We already have an idea
Disclosure.
what's coming next, but we don't want to disclose exactly what we have planned because it depends on the future. So that's
More
just like
money.
the Eastern Front one.
But we wanna play
That's
you.
a
We
big
wanna
maybe.
pay you money.
Yeah.
Are
DLC.
you-
We'll keep you going for the rest of your life. Trust me.
Please take our money.
Did we hear merch? I think I heard merch.
Yeah, merch
Ooh,
would be
this.
awesome.
Yeah, happy for merch.
Especially if moderators would get
Just
a
make sure you
hoodie.
can send it to New Zealand.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Moo.
I've got another question. Since you mentioned, yeah, sorry, your fault because you mentioned IL2. Could we get some sort of forward air controller for the strafing runs so that they are more useful?
What do you mean?
Currently, if you call in a strafing run, you have to have more or less the exact position of the enemy infantry. But if they're running on an open field and the strafing run is called down, the pilots are kind of blind. And it would be nice if you could redirect them in the strafing run so that they can mow down the enemy
I am
infantry.
not sure if we can redirect them in flight.
But it would be cool though.
I mean we can, but again, coding time.
Yeah, sure. It just popped into my head and thought I drop it.
Because
I've heard people say the same thing.
I'm gonna ruin the planes for you. They're on a rail.
Yeah, I thought so.
Ah.
They're just on an invisible rail.
Yeah, train in the sky.
That's why they tend to fly through the buildings on the land or the mountain.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're just on a rail. They just follow a specific rail. So they're not like programmed AI or anything. They're literally just a plane with a sound effect and some pew pews, and that's it.
Pew pew.
Cool pew pews and sound effects. To be honest,
like if you were to see the system, it is like stupidly simple. Like
but
it is
cool.
It's cool, but it is stupidly simple.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just a machine. It's literally just like a custom machine gun blueprint, literally just glued to the plane, and the plane just moves on a predetermined path.
Yeah.
The same
Kind of
goes
defeats
for the same goes for the Stuka too.
Kind of defeats the next question some guys popped at me. Can we ever play as a pilot?
No.
Fuck
that
no.
wouldn't be big
I
enough.
always tell them no.
Go play Battlefield.
Yeah.
That one is 100% going to be a definite no. Because A, it doesn't fit in the scope. B, it takes away the players from the ground battle. And C, where the fuck would you land?
Actually, I've got one.
Most-
I've got a guy who has been posting a fair bit in feedback. He wants to play things like more serious, so he turns off his HUD and everything, but he can't use his compass. And when he brings up his map to look at it, it still shows where everybody, like all players and stuff. Or is there any way to turn off, like keep the map and the compass up, but not show where players are running around or things like that? Like more hardcore players sort of idea.
I'm not sure because everyone has their own definition of what they define as a hardcore experience. So it's going to be hard to get one mode that suits everyone. I mean that disabled. I guess he's using the enable HUD, which turning that off.
Yeah, but there's no when he does that, it doesn't remove the layer. I guess the player layer on the map. Unfortunately,
because it's designed for the admin camera stuff. It's not designed for It's not like a free hardcore, a hardcore game.
Yeah.
Game modifications. I mean, it works, but I mean,
regarding the spectator cam, could be there are possibility that you can make an mode or like something like that you would like automatically assign the spectator cam whoever dies, in example, in like some sort of tournament or anything like that, because at the moment you have to like specifically add that flag to his Steam ID, which is gonna be tremendous work in a way. That could it be?
in the past, you were able, in the past for squad, you were able to add admins by command, but I don't think you can anymore. I don't know if you can, because the problem is with the admin cam is that in order to add that permission, you need to reload the admin file, and it only reloads the admin file under map restart.
Yeah.
Or a map change. So even if you could, it wouldn't actually take effect until.
How about a regular spectator mode? Could that be possible?
What do you mean a regular spectator mode?
Like in other games, you click on spectate instead of one of the teams. So you
for like one
are
life.
free. Yeah.
Probably not, because there's the risk of ghosting.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
guys just asked. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
My guys just asked if there's gonna be Fall 2 for logistics with the V2 rockets.
What? It's gonna be what?
A V2 rocket.
rockets for logistics. They just went crazy now.
V2 rockets.
Yeah, Fall 2.
Sure, go for it. V2 rockets. Let's give them. Let's give them flamethrowers. Here's an idea. How about napalm V2 rockets?
Oh
yeah.
But you can only shoot outside of the map, so aim for London or something.
What would a German term be for a V2 but a Flammenwerfer?
Just
Flammenraketen.
Yeah, something like that.
Flammenraketen V2.
I mean, regarding
V2.
that spectator cam, I was like mainly speaking about one life events that when you die you can go into spectator mode and don't have to watch the deployment screen all the time.
I'm sure modding will do that, because
Alright.
I know it's already a thing for squad. I'm sure some crazy modder out there will probably do something like that.
Yeah, I have seen some very good mods regarding that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm expecting squad ops. I'm expecting squad ops to convert their squad ops mod to postscriptum.
Yeah, all right. Was making sure that if it's gonna be possible, but all right.
So it probably we're probably not gonna do it, but I'm sure someone will.
Understandable.
Oh.
How about we call it a day?
That depends if anyone have any more questions.
I bet Moo will come with a lot of.
Dude, you'll be here forever.
All nighter.
Considering his community is going crazy, I think they're starting to run out of actual questions to ask.
But I mean,
could you please just repeat the flamethrower? Is it possible or not? I forgot. Sorry.
It's possible. We just
okay, that's enough.
And it's possible, and we want to do it.
Yes.
We just don't have the time and coding to do it. But knowing it's kind of like gore. We said we wouldn't do it, but internally we'll probably play around with it internally.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if we start to send money to the striker, who is the new coder, to please can you make
no. Striker's on break. Striker's on break.
I know.
Our new coder is Commander Shepard.
Good.
And this is his favorite game on the Citadel. Wait, what?
And he's our Indian coder, so he's really good.
What is he?
He's our Indian coder.
Indian coder.
So he's really good.
Oi. Namaste. Okay.
But I can admit, not regarding any questions, that you have been doing a very tremendous job regarding this community meeting. I'm very appreciative about that thing, and how much I have been talking about us, about all the changes and things like that. But it's gonna be coming into 2020. I really appreciate that, and also that that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kitos.
I realized because I looked at my calendar and I realized the last time I did a community meeting was sometime in September, October, and it's almost like half a year ago. I'm like, maybe it's time because now we're so far, because the last time we were talking about 4.2.1 and what was coming in 4.2.1. Now we're like chapter 2, and I felt like it was now would be a good time to do a community meeting. I was like, I want to do a community meeting because the last thing we need is stop communicating and stop interacting with
Okay,
you
so
people
can we
who
do
are essentially what breathes lives into Postscriptum at the end of the day.
can we do it
And-
every 8th of the month?
And
This community meeting?
No, because it'll be too much work, not only for me, but I aim to do one every half a year or so, roughly. So
What about the tea times? Are they going to be doing any more of those? Because they were really good.
Yeah, we just need to find
That
time to do
that
them.
reassured a lot of people when they put those out.
Yeah, we have been talking about it, and we need to do another one soon. TM. I mean,
I think that's the biggest thing is that people think that you guys aren't doing anything, but I know you are, but
oh yeah,
like a lot of people will sit there and think that you're not. And I think that when you guys were
And
doing the
this
tea
is-
times,
this
it
is-
got
this
people
is also,
excited and knew that
yeah.
you were working.
And this is also part in that in easing those worries that stuff aren't here. Like, for example, you're welcome to share that clip of the sandbox thing. Like, you're welcome to share that to your community and
Done.
be like,
Sold.
I mean, here.
Going to do it.
I mean, sandbox is a thing. We have a prototype for it. It's in the works. I mean, it's not unreal. I mean, it doesn't look good, but it's you can see it's functioning, right? I mean,
I think if we all do our fair share of sharing this and communicate with our own communities and show them what
as long as you keep communicating with each other, with your community, and keep spreading the word about the community meetings and all this community stuff, and spread the word, keep everyone informed. That way, we're all doing our part. I mean, I'm doing as much as I can for you guys, but you also need to help me out here, because at the end of the day, I am your communication to the developers, because I understand you guys more than the developers ever will. Because I am part of this. I'm part of this community. I know what it's like to be here. So it's important we communicate together if you want to make changes, because I'm your best shot at having changes, like serious changes made. And the problem is, this was one of the things that I voiced a lot when I initially got this position, was communication with the community here is, utmost importance. And unfortunately, there are some communities, especially in the tactical genre, that, and I might be throwing a little bit of shade here, but there are certain communities I know, and the people who are here who are part of said community know who I'm talking about. But some just don't take the community serious enough and don't actually value how important they are. And that shows. It shows in development. So there's a little bit of shade. I'm not going to say any specific, but
shame.
But you can make your guesses.
I have no clue.
No, some people don't know what I'm talking about, but some do. Yeah. That is my name.
Last question from my tankers is there going to be a role for a loader inside the tank and
No.
interior of the tank? Okay, good.
No interiors, no loader.
Okay.
Because the loader of the
Too
board.
complicated?
No. The loader is just incredibly boring. I mean,
press R to reload. Yay.
I mean,
Just play Hell Let Loose. You know what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
I mean, it is like, I mean, I don't know who would ever find that kind of gameplay fun.
I didn't enjoy to be 80 gun operator in Hell Let Loose and have to like switch between loader and the fire gun operator
that's
at the
fine.
same time. It
But
was
that being a dedicated role, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
No reason to have it. I mean,
a lot of
and
people find
interiors
the
of
hull
tanks-
gunner boring as well.
We've already said we'd love to do interiors of the tanks, but it's just too much work.
I mean, some others can do it and just implement it in the main game easy.
Oh yeah, some modders can definitely do it, but you gotta remember that we take, multiple months just making a tank. If we had to model interiors as well.
Yeah,
and you can see the
yeah
mutations.
Yeah, focus on the important stuff.
There's a lot more important stuff that we can work on.
Yeah.
Instead of that. Like I don't know, interiors for buildings.
Oh yes, please, because it looks so flippin' sterile.
Chapter
The
1.
new interiors are awesome.
Yeah, we plan to retrofit Chapter 1 at some point as well with the maybe not the same interior, but maybe their own variation of interior.
Yeah, because it looks like the houses have just been built and like been freshly painted and waiting for people to move in.
Problem was that Scriptum was such a huge game. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
I was waiting for that one.
But no, seriously, Postscriptum, it's an absolutely massive game.
Yeah.
Arnhem, for example. The original idea for Arnhem was 8 by 8 kilometers. 8 by 8
wow.
8 by 8. Do you have
Good
any
luck with
idea
that.
how big that is?
Yeah.
I can
That
feel it.
That is absolutely massive. Like that's like take Healsome, right? But double it. That's terrifying.
Wow, nice.
It's fucking terrifying map, man. Now we can talk about aircraft.
Yeah,
But
well,
no.
where's
But yeah,
my
no.
aircraft,
But yeah,
Snazzy?
no. 8 by 8 never
Aircraft
happened.
confirmed. 8 by
They-
8.
That's why Arnhem feels so unfinished.
Yeah, the whole southern part of the
To
map,
be-
for example.
To be honest, the first cap for allies should be deleted. Let the Axis cross the whole freaking bridge, and the allies like cap starts from the other side of the bridge where they're already building defenses. That would fix
That-
the issue.
Well,
There is a layer for that.
To be fair, I mean, we somehow managed to break the water again, so our Panther has now become a submarine again.
Oh yeah.
Does that make it a swim panzer?
Could be.
Yeah.
Schwimmen panzer.
Swimwagen.
Just
No,
add
no,
a snorkel and call it a day.
Schwimmpanzer. Schwimmwagen. That's
Well,
that's
the
wagon.
Germans use the Panther as a scout tank. Don't ask me why and how, but
or as an
reasons.
AA. Flag Panther.
Yeah.
No, nobody forget the Flag Panther.
Well,
The
it was
fact you,
shit,
you,
but
you could aim the gun straight up into the sky.
Oerlikon.
When the enemy B-25 bombers are coming in.
well, if it works, it's not broken.
Regarding bombs and AA, is it possible to shoot the bomb and then explode it in the midair? Okay.
No, it's not War Thunder.
So it was a telephone line which hit that thing. What I saw in the popping play.
Again, the bomb is just like the plane. It's literally just on a rail.
Yeah.
All the way down to the ground.
But somebody told me that he shot that bomb off and it exploded in midair and
No, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. It doesn't
Okay.
have it doesn't have any collision.
Okay. Answers to my question.
It's on a rail. There's no actually physical way of destroying it. So he's probably talking bollocks, or he had a happy accident where the bomb
But sometimes it
or
can
something didn't render, like in the north or something,
Can
and
it
it
hit
exploded
the
in the air.
telephone line and then explode on that
No, because the telephone lines aren't
rendered? I mean,
they are they're rendered, but they don't have collision.
Okay.
You
in
sure
that
about
case-
that?
Yeah, they don't have collision. Otherwise, you could stand on them, and you can't.
What about
And
airdrops and stuff from the commander?
Trakar, you're welcome to try.
Yeah, I bet you can bet I will.
That's an invitation to try. What do you
I
say?
will.
What about things like airdrops and things from commanders, like in Hell Let Loose?
I recall
maybe.
that was okay last time.
I am going to say maybe.
Okay. Another one was, the ammo boxes that the guys can drop.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can get 3 people to pick up off that, and maybe a time limit, so if 3 people don't pick up off it, it disappears, so that it doesn't cause havoc with memory?
I mean, at the moment, it's already
it doesn't really do much havoc with memory anyway. But I mean, we do have.
Well, I just meant rather than having boxes everywhere, sort of idea.
Yeah, I mean,
because a lot of people hate the idea that only one person can pick up off a whole box.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we already have some planning for the AT.
Okay.
One question regarding the offensive mode. Could there be like, RAS type of like mode that, the attackers only can see the first point, which is gonna be like capping and not seeing the rest of the map in the, there? So preventing like, pre-capturing a point before the actual point itself?
Good night, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye, bye.
I need a question one more time.
So, regarding offensive mode, could there be like an fog of war regarding RAS, which is currently that you can cap one cap per time and you cannot see the whole map where the cap are? Could that thing be implemented in the offensive mode as well? Like, that the attackers can only see the one cap, but the rest of the map is like unknown to them, that where the next cap is going to be situated
For
at.
offensive?
Yeah.
That will constitute random offensive. Basically.
Okay.
I mean, in theory, yes, but I mean, I'm not sure if we're actually gonna do that. I mean, I will say this. Usually, the attacking force knows what objectives they want to attack before they attack them. I'm just saying. Usually, that's planned ahead of time. So usually the attackers don't go in blind.
I mean,
But for the sake of gameplay, I can understand it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, probably not for the default offensive game mode. It'll probably be something we'll do for a random offensive, the same way we do for a random AAS.
All right. Okay.
But if we do random offensive, that is. But after the standard game mode.
I mean, sometimes there's issues with like pre-capping and like spawn capping the forward spawns.
Yeah, that'll always be a bit of a struggle. Even if we did hidden objectives, people could still sort of predict where the objectives will be, because it's not entirely random. Like it's randomized, but it's not
All right.
After a month or something, they know where it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's already a thing on RAS.
Yeah.
So So there you go. Any more questions, or are we done? Are we done for tonight?
Wait, one more. Sorry, guys. Nancy. My best player from Clan and as squad leader, he asked a really interesting question. With
Okay.
Germans, there are two Car 98 with different iron sights. Why? And are you gonna fix it?
Oh, I think he probably means the medic who has the hooded version of the car.
Yeah, the hooded. Yeah.
Are we gonna change it? Probably not, because why would we?
Like,
Isn't a little bit of variation good?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, when most of your team is compromised out of rifles, you want a little bit of variation in those rifles. Just a little bit of variation. I mean, we want to do the same thing with the Lee Enfield, but it doesn't really have much changes. The British didn't really do that whole hurdle. Let me change my rifle a little bit. But I mean, in theory, it shouldn't matter all that much with the side hood. So side hood, I mean, maybe it makes it a little harder to see. I don't know, but I don't think we're planning to change it, because there's no reason to.
I mean, in my opinion, it's just a cosmetic option that some people find it's more like usable, but some people might
Yeah, but it's one of them coding things. One of them coding things that we need to allocate time for it. But I don't think we'll do anything like that, because in reality there's not much reason to, because I think there's only medic that has it. I mean,
and light mortar, and some other kits as well has that thing.
Yeah, so it's very limited who has them.
Okay,
Which is fine.
So there you go.
See you in half a year.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya in
Well,
half a year.
That brought up another
You said
question.
you're gonna do it half a year.
Oh yeah, but you don't want to talk to me for half a year? Wow.
Wow.
Just coming here for the meetings. Wow.
No.
Wow. How rude. Am I not interesting enough? Is that it?
No.
Quack.
That
What
will be an
about?
interesting next meeting. One will moo and the other quack.
Yes. Next time I'll do my entire meeting just quacking.
Will you quack it, or so that there's a chance to decipher it, or no?
Yes, there will be like a code and you can decipher it.
Woohoo!
At least
Are
chapter
they
4 and
looking?
5.
Are they looking at doing like bigger bombing runs, like in Hell Let Loose, with the whole bombing? You know, the multiple bombs being dropped.
I mean, we've said we
Or
wanted
are they
to.
just going to
we
stick to
looked
the
into.
stickers?
We said we've looked into potentially doing more artillery stuff, but in terms of expanding the artillery, the arsenal for the commander, probably not, because there's a lot of time it takes into modeling and creating the game mode stuff for it. So for the time being,
I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, but when you're on the other end of that bombing run and you just turn and look at the bombs coming towards you and just going, fuck, bring it on. It's amazing. It's just, I hope they do at some point, like maybe later on, but that'd be so cool if they did.
Otherwise, I'm guaranteeing on my butt that someone will do it with the mods.
Yeah, it's a good
and
point.
they'll just have a generic bomber model, and they'll just have the bomb from the Stuka just drop like a ton of times.
Yeah.
Bomb. That'd be kind of dope.
Oh, I just love this game, man. They've done so well with it.
My only problem is that I would like for the artillery the artillery and the mortar to be a little bit more oomph. Like
Actually, did you guys know that you can't destroy FOBs or the trucks with the mortars? They can only destroy men, and if so, why?
I have
Trucks. I didn't know.
No, I
FOBs
tested
was
it.
possible.
We tested it on FOBs, and we tested it with all the mortars. We tested it with MSPs, and we couldn't destroy them at all, which is really frustrating because, we couldn't figure out why an MG could sit there and destroy a truck, like an in-placed MG, but an in-placed mortar couldn't.
Oh,
that was one thing I completely forgot to bring up.
Well, a 2 centimeter half track
sounds like a bug to me.
Can't destroy.
Yeah, so I'm talking about like the 4-inch mortar or whatever it is that the Germans have. All those in-place mortars will not destroy FOBs or vehicles.
On first thought, I think it sounds like a bug.
It could be.
I would urge you to forward that to Winter. I would say forward to me, but I mean,
well, I can go and test it and do a video. So
yeah, because I'm already looking at my friends list here, and I'm just watching this list. I've been watching this list grow for the past 3 hours, and I can no longer. The post-scriptum server is the very top of my server list, and I can no longer see the post-scriptum server list anymore. Or
that's cool.
The post-scriptum server is at the top of my service list, and I can't see it anymore. And it's been 3 hours. Now imagine what it looks like tomorrow when I woke. When I
you
wake
want
up.
to be my friend too?
And then I get about 1,000 friend invites every all the time. I don't think I've ever seen my Discord. You know the little red icon under your Discord. You know the notification. I don't think I've ever seen that thing not say +9 since I became community manager. I don't think I've ever seen it go below that. But yeah, I mean, sounds like a bug to me.
I could check my old recordings where we tested mortar fire on FOBs in 4.16.
Yeah, but as with anything, we could have introduced it in a recent patch. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
We did test it after I think it was 4.21. We tried it out, and I'll test it again. And
it's the periscope effect.
Yeah. I mean, what I mentioned is, or what I meant is, I could check my old recordings if it worked back then. If not, maybe that's intentional.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was kind of weird that you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, it sounds like a bug. Oh my god, I can't wait until I get my new chair. Fuck my ass.
Nice.
Oh, I got one of those, you know.
Was that an open invitation or?
No. But yeah, I have one of those, you know, DX race, you know, one of those proper gaming chairs. I thought, you know, I'd like one of those. It's what probably the worst chair. These chairs are one of the worst chairs I've ever bought. You know why?
No.
Because it squeaks like hell. Like if I just sit here, oh, it's wonderful. I hate it.
Is that a DX Racer? What's that making the squeaking noise?
Yes, it's a DX
Holy
Racer.
fuck!
It is. I hate it, and I hate the seat. It is super uncomfortable. I can't sit in it. So
Okay.
I bought myself a
You
sequel
need a memory foam cushion.
I bought myself a sequel lab Titan the other night. I
Nice.
think on Friday I bought one. So I'm hoping it's gonna come this week. I'm excited to try it out. Someone recommended it. That was a good chair.
You're the first one that I heard is complaining about a DX Racer.
It is terrible. I have never ever had. My old office chair was better than this piece of shit.
Holy
Like,
shit.
it is actually terrible. Like if I just sit here like, it is. Oh, it is. Oh, it
He's
is
doing something nasty in the background.
Yes, it is. It is wonderful to listen to. I hate it. It's one of the worst chairs. It's literally falling apart.
How long did you have it?
2 years.
Oh, okay.
And it's terrible.
It's amazing how the expensive shit always seems to be the worst shit.
No, I mean, expensive. It wasn't really that expensive. I mean, the sequel at Titan is like €400.
Jesus.
I mean, that's an expensive chair.